Okay. Just give me a second. Dr. Rana, are you there?
Yes, Dr. Jane.
Okay, I can see it's on YouTube, but I couldn't see our video.
Okay, just let me check 1 second.
1 second, huh? Ajay, just one moment, huh?
Okay.
Wait,
Yes, Dr. Jane is fine.
It's
It's
live,
live
huh?
already. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so everyone, thank you for tuning in today. My name is Dr. Jane Perianan, and I am with GlobalNxt University. All right, so today we have a very important session whereby we are going to have our 23rd GlobalNxt School of Business Postgraduate Research Symposium. We've got so many of our learners here. Congratulations to each one of you. They are going to present. I will be introducing you to each one of them. So sit back, listen to their presentation, and would really appreciate if you have any query or any questions. All right. So with that, let me call upon Ajay Soni, who will be our first presenter. He is doing Viva Voce, and you can share your screen, Ajay.
Thank you, Dr. Jane.
You have exactly 25 minutes to start your session. Let's wait for your PPT, and you can start whenever it's ready. You are ready. And to everyone, if you could just switch off your mic so that we can have a good presentation. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead, Ajay. All the best.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ajay Soni, and today I am presenting my DBA thesis titled Strategies for Promoting Research and Innovation in Large Corporations. Geographical settings: India, the US, Europe, and OECD countries. OECD stands for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. This is part of RES 811 research thesis, and I would like to thank Dr. Alex Bowden for his supervision, guidance, and feedback, and his support. The study focuses on how large corporations institutionalize innovation, how regional ecosystem influence innovation strategies, and how organization can improve innovation sustainability through governance, culture, collaboration, and leadership. Moving on to the next slide. Why this topic? The motivation for selecting this topic emerged from both academic and professional observations. In the global context, Fortune 1000 face challenges, balancing innovation with strategy and scale. My professional insights: 20 plus years practitioner experience across US, India, and Europe, spanning in pharmaceutical, healthcare, and IT consulting domain, bridging theory and practice. I observed recurring barriers such as fragmented innovation system, rigid governance structures, lack of cross-functional collaboration, and inconsistent innovation funding. Study aim and final outcome. The primary aim of the study is to explore how large corporations formulate, implement, and sustain innovation strategies across different regional ecosystems. The final outcome of this study is the development of 3 practical exploratory models for innovation management: India, US, and Europe. And they cover enhanced innovation, talent capabilities, and competitiveness. Next slide. Agenda. There are 5 chapters. Apart from that, I have key takeaways and the references. Background and motivation. Research and innovation are 2 separate entities. This research focuses on innovation management. Specifically, innovation is often underfunded and fragmented. Study identifies a qualitative research methodology, and I'm using grounded theory as part of this research process. Simplified exploratory model for innovation strategy. The large corporation, they have internal factors, external factors, and then they combine with innovation behavior and strategy, and then there is a region-specific outcome. Problem statement. Despite significant R&D investment, large corporations consistently fail to institutionalize innovation. Fragmented industry academic partnership, risk-averse cultures, rigid hierarchies, and inconsistent government support across region result in underutilized knowledge, lost creative capacity, and missed innovation opportunities at scale. Moving on to the next slide. Research questions. There are 6 research questions identified. The first, formulate and implement innovation strategies in various regions. Next, influence the priorities of corporation with regard to innovation. This is related to innovation policies. Third, organization context influence the approach of level of commitment of large corporation towards innovation. Fourth, funding and governance arrangement influence the implementation and sustainability of innovation activities in large corporations. Fifth, universities and startups shape the innovation outcome in large partnership. So the main point behind the fifth question is the partnership with universities and startups. And the sixth is employees at different level perceive and participate in the innovation process in their organization. Comparative overview with research questions. Focus area. If you see the research questions on the left hand side, then we have the focus area, and then I have India, US, and Europe OECD countries. Focus areas first, innovation structure and institutionalization. So India has emerging structure, very lean innovation. US has highly institutionalized R&D labs, and Europe has strong institutional framework, formalized R&D programs. Then next focus area is, which is tied to research question number 2, policy regulation and funding environment. And with regards to that, we have all the 6 questions identified with the focus areas, and there is a comparative overview with India, US, and Europe. Research objectives. There are 3 research objectives, and that's research thesis. They are tied to the 6 research questions, 6 questions. First, to develop, model, and understand large corporation, conceive, design, and institutionalize strategies with embedded research and innovation into their structure and practice. Research objective number 2, explore regional policy context, organization culture, funding system, and governance arrangement collectively impact on processes and outcome of corporate innovation throughout India, US, and Europe. And third, explore and how interaction between academic institutions, startups, employee working at different levels led to greater engagement, performance, and sustainability in large corporation. Comparative overview with research objectives. Again, I have 3 research objectives in the left-hand side. Then there is a focus area, and followed by India, US, and Europe. First focus area is corporate innovation strategy and institutionalization. Innovation often emerges as a project-based. Many firms adopt frugal innovation and short-term cycle. In US, innovation strategic embedded integrated into core business with corporate structures clearly defined with strong R&D units for highly institutionalized. Europe, OECD countries, highly structured and formalized innovation strategies, strong alignment with sustainability and EU innovation mandates. Then I have second focus area is policy, culture, funding, and governance environment. Policy is variable. Funding, there are funding constraints as far as the India region is concerned. Governance shifting slowly towards agility, strong growth and digital infrastructure, which supports innovation in the country. US pro-innovation policies, high-risk cultures, dynamic venture capital ecosystem. Europe, strong regulatory framework with harmonized EU policies, high emphasis on sustainability. And the last objective is external collaboration and employee engagement. For India, it is growing startup and academic links, but still fragmented. For US, highly developed ecosystem, collaboration universities, startups, employee empowered through entrepreneurship and innovation labs. And for Europe, strong university industry partnership, structured innovation clusters, employee engagement, innovation with skill development, strong mechanism for employee learning. Next slide. Contribution to business and research. Fostering a culture of creativity that is for business, transforming organization culture and mindset, enabling employee-led innovation and entrepreneurship, strategic collaboration between academic and startups, and improving innovation funding and risk management. These are the 5 points which I identified as part of this thesis as far as the business contribution to business is concerned. Then moving on to the research part, evidence-based observation, that's the first one. Then innovation practice to regionality, technological advancement, value for money, academic and managerial contribution. This thesis therefore contributes not only theoretically, but also managerially. Limitation of the study, research limitation. The first limitation is focuses on large corporation, scope of corporate scale. This research focuses on large corporation, mainly Fortune 1000 organization. Second, geographic boundaries. The scope is limited to India, US, and Europe, OECD countries. Third, the study focuses specifically on innovation management and not broader corporate strategy. These limitations can create opportunities for future research. Literature review, chapter number 2. The literature review focused on internal and external enablers and barriers to innovation. The review identified several important themes related to leadership, governance, innovation culture, policy framework, funding systems, and collaboration ecosystem. The study also integrated interdisciplinary for management innovation studies, public policies, and organization behavior. And finally, the gaps and the neglected areas in the scholarly and practitioner-based literature. Exploratory model based on the literature review. So identified business environment, firm's characteristics, firm behavior, followed by funding research development, which includes funding research projects, collaboration with research institutes and startups, employee engagement for new ideas, regional policies, and regulations. And then in the last, if you see innovation output by region for India, US, and Europe, they all depend on the data which has been captured and which will be displayed in chapter 4 and chapter 5. Next slide. Research methodology. The focus on qualitative research method. I'm using, as a researcher, I'm using grounded theory, exploratory model based on iterative data, multiple phases. And why not quantitative or mixed method over qualitative? Because the aim of this research was to discover strategies, barriers, and processes, what look like in practice, which close-ended surveys cannot capture. Why grounded theory? The goal is to discover new practical strategies from real data rather than testing a real-made theory. And sampling strategy, engaging industry professionals such as management professionals, consultants, and executives, 5 to 15 years of experience from large corporation. On the right-hand side, I have the grounded theory diagram, which says about collecting data to gather high qualitative information from selected participants, then open coding, take the raw data collected and break it into single line, label them using Atlas TI, and the goal is to make the data fragmented so that one can see pattern and concept emergence through the codes. Constant comparison, and there is a memo writing. Memo writing is to write analytic memos consistently and capture ideas, coding decisions. Constant comparison. Continuously test and rework emerging codes and look for the variation in the data, followed by exile coding. The code developed during the open coding phase, link them together to form categories and subcategories. Theoretical sampling. Again, theoretical sampling is related to how the targeted question that will help to fill the data. Selective coding it occurs after the development of the categories has been completed, and the focus will be on the central category in this context. Theoretical saturation. This is the most important part of the grounded theory. Point at which researcher stops collecting the data. You are not going to get new properties or relationships or dependencies for your categories. And then finally, generating a new model. Justification of population. The three regions represents globally significant ecosystem. I choose India, US, and Europe because they represents in because most of the companies, Fortune 500 companies, 1000 companies have their headquarters in these three regions. Legally incorporated entities with formal governance and reporting structure. LC generates annual revenue of billion dollar profits and active operations in India, US, and Europe. These are the five main major regions which justify the three regions. Next slide. Data collection. For as part of primary data collection, I have done semi-structured interviews for the India region, and for US and Europe open-ended questionnaire. Focus group for India conduct or focus group as part of secondary structure has been captured with 5 participants. This is used as part of secondary data collection. Phase 1 has 3 participants per region, which makes the total to 9. Phase 2 and phase 3, 5, which make 5 each, which makes the total to 30. For India and US, the data saturation and maturity, which is +2, has been added in phase 3. And for Europe, OECD countries, data saturation and maturity, which is +2, has been achieved in phase 4. Next slide. Atlas TI software has been used for data analysis. The relationship between data collection activities and the formulation of new regional models. Grounded theory includes applying open coding, exile coding, selective coding, which I just explained, using atlas.ti. Constant comparative analysis has been done. Theoretical sampling, data collected based on emerging categories, and theoretical saturation until a model is evolved using atlas.ti software. Next slide. Analysis. This is chapter number 4. As part of data collection, data collected in multiple rounds in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4 stages, depending on the region. For India, 198 codes and 52 themes identified. For US, 308 codes, because the USA produced the highest coding density, reflecting the complexity and maturity of innovation system. Europe, OECD has 245 codes and 53 themes. Data saturation and stability reached during the stage. India, phase 3 at 10 participant. US also phase 3 at 12 participant. And Europe, OECD, phase 4 at 14 participant. Remember, there is a stability has been added apart from saturation, because what I did as a researcher, I did the data saturation and then added 2 more participants for stability. So 10, 12, and 14 for India, US, and Europe region. Findings. Next slide. The findings were linked directly to all 6 research questions and 3 research objectives aligned with different regions. Triangulation is partially aligned with the literature review. Triangulation is a method that uses multiple data sources for theories to strengthen the validity of research finding. These are the findings using CGT code per region. For India, participant 6 said innovation is primarily operational in nature and is closely linked to productivity improvement and cost reduction. US, there is a different viewpoint. And for Europe, definitely there is a different viewpoint for which the data has been captured. Next slide. Discussion. This is chapter number 5. Grounded theory coding process for India, US, and Europe. Raw data has been collected using semi-structured interviews and open-ended questionnaire as part of primary data. For India, focus group has been done to capture and verify data with the semi-structured interviews. Open coding, 751 codes identified. For themes, 172, and core categories and theory, R1 to R6 integration. Model development, 3 models emerged from this. For India, this is the model. And this has been done using empirical data, using qualitative. This is for India, open, and this is for semi-structured interviews. Decision-making criteria, innovation output by region, governance and long-term strategic objective, which covers alignment with business interests, innovation adoption, cost effectiveness, change management, vision, and mission. Funding, again, the funding research development has some tweaks, but it is more or less the same. Innovation output by region has basic or incremental innovation, cost-conscious product development, limited partnership, and strong digital transformation. Next, US region. The model, which is again the difference is here, mostly the difference is that decision-making criteria and governance and long-term strategic objectives, and then the final is innovation output by region. While the US has balanced portfolio innovation, high integration of digital technologies like AI, big data, strong university collaboration, market-driven innovation, and rapid commercialization. Next, for the Europe OECD countries, decision-making criteria, funding, research development, and governance and long-term strategic objectives. These are this I got from the empirical data, and then there is a change as far as the output is concerned. High integrate for the innovation output by region, high integration of science and industrial research, regulatory-driven innovation, focus on numbers, leadership in high-tech sectors. Next, cross-regional comparative analysis. Dimensions, if you see the left hand side, dimensions, focus, firm characteristics, firm behavior, role of government and policy, employee empowerment, decision making criteria, innovation culture, output of by innovation and barrier to innovation. India, what empirical data gives is a lean innovation for India, disruptive and scalable innovation and rapid commercialization for US, and sustainability and policy alignment, innovation, incremental and systematic for Europe, OECD countries. And then the other dimensions, if you see, has been done for barriers to innovation, funding gaps, risk aversion, and regulatory uncertainty. For US, time to market pressure, global to market pressure, global competition, and innovation fatigue. And for Europe, complex regulatory compliance, high social accountability. Next slide. This is the integration of research question, research objectives, and findings for the regional. If everyone look at the third column, which has the key finding in the theme, R1 aligned with, RO aligned with R1 and R2, and then R2 goes with R3 and R4, and R3 goes R5 and R6. Findings goes with clear finding of innovation with business vision and strategic intent. Goes with US and Europe. Policy initiative improvement. Policy output goes for India, US, and Europe. India shows lack of strong institutional support. India and Europe. These are the findings. Next slide. Thesis summary. Practical methods outlined for India, US, and Europe for risk and failures are permissible for the innovation continuum. And third is corporate innovation interest confirmed. Analysis confirmed. Large corporations are generally invested in innovation, massive future funding opportunities, further research by exploring innovation funding approaches, novel approaches into new translate research finding into market-ready products and services, 3 exploratory models emerged, and then 150 references cited. Next slide. Recommendations. Regionalized innovation governance, separate dedication, innovation funding, shift to collaborative ecosystem, build innovation capabilities at all levels, and collaborative policy models for policymakers. Next slide. Key takeaways. This is the final slide. Models address critical gap, academic and practical strategy guide, regional, not universal. Innovation is shaped by regional practices, not one size fits all solutions. Previous studies shows global models, but this research focuses on regional, and this is more accurate as far as the innovation is concerned. Governance over strategy, portfolio management, funding logics, and risk governance drive outcome more than started. And CGT insight, innovation stands for interplay of strategic governance and leadership culture. And finally, external ecosystem strongly shape innovation, sustainability, and depth. Next slide. Thank you very much for your attention and valuable time. I sincerely thank my supervisor, participants, and everyone. I now welcome question and feedback. More than 150 references has been used in this thesis work. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Ajay, for that presentation. But I do have comment that
Please.
you actually finished it like in 22 minutes. You do have on the actual Viva session for 30 minutes. So perhaps after this symposium, you can practice and see which areas you want to focus more. All right, that's a small tip from my side. So other than that, I'd like to open the floor to anyone who would like to give comments or ask any question to Ajay regarding his thesis title. Anyone? You can unshare your screen, Ajay.
Thank you, Dr. Nate.
Okay, no one asking any, nobody have any comments or any question to Ajay?
I have a question.
Yes, Jackie, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dr. Jacqueline here.
Okay,
Question
Dr.
to you.
Jacqueline.
What exactly is the research gap in this study? Because when I listen to you narrating your problem statement, I can't seem to decode your gap. What exactly is the gap in your study? That's question one. Question two is, I'm a supervisor myself for PhD and DBA candidates, and it is very often that I have advised when you write your problem statement, it must be focused purely on a certain issue. One issue must be in focus. But here I see many variables being included. Why, if I may ask, Mr. Ajay? Thank you.
Okay. So despite R&D investments, large corporations fail to institutionalize innovation. That's the main reason. This research has started. Fragmented industry academic partnership, these are rigid hierarchies, these are all the problems. Inconsistent government support across regions result in underutilized knowledge, lost creative capacity, and missed innovation opportunity at scale. That's the reason this research has been initiated and done.
It's supposed to be a very constructive comment from my side. It would be good if you could institutionalize your problem statement. What is that main problem that you are focusing at the moment? That would be good. And then it would also be pertinent for you to incorporate your research gap, whether it is an empirical gap, knowledge gap, contextual gap, theoretical gap, whichever gap it would be notably very good if you can incorporate the research gap in the problem statement itself, because it will then guide you to construct your literature review effectively. The same gap will then help you develop your literature effectively. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Ajay. Otherwise, I believe you're on right track. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline, for that valuable comment. So, Ajay, you can discuss with Dr. Alex after this session and review your paper. Okay? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Can unshare your screen. Next on the list will be A.B. Lakshmanan. Just get ready to let Ajay unshare his screen.
I unshared it.
Just give a few seconds. Maybe it'll take some time because you're still on the... Okay. All right. Great. All right. So we have A.B. Lakshmanan and he is doing his Viva Voce. 25 minutes for this symposium. Whenever you are ready, you can start. All the best, Lakshmanan.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity, Dr. Jayanti. This research, this is the final research thesis at the Viva stage. The research title is Exploring the Factors and Barriers to the communication between the project team in specifically the UAE context. My name is A.B. Lakshman and my supervisor is Dr. Basil. Today's agenda starts with introduction, literature review, research methodology, data analysis, and conclusion. In the interest of time, let me straight away jump on to the background and motivation. The construction projects rely heavily on communication between the diverse project participants to deliver the successful project delivery. Say, effective communication ensures the alignment of project goal and the team collaboration. Say, the project which is being briefed has to bring back to reality that involves huge number of people and different participants, different companies. The communication is very vital in this process. Miscommunication causes negative effect that increases the cost and causes disputes. Recent studies has highlighted that challenges persist due to multicultural team, language diversity, and poor information sharing that especially happens in the UAE context, where more than 40 to 50 nationalities are working in construction projects. In recent years, of course, we do have the digital tools and technologies such as BIM and other project management software, but it has a potential to improve communication. In the meantime, these technologies often limited with its constraint with the adoption of lacking training. The consistency within the supply chain is not there. That is a real issue. With this, the problem statement is communication. No doubt, communication is a key success factor in construction project, but it has been a long problem in the construction industry, especially in UAE. The multicultural, multilingual teams and high time pressure leads to the coordination issues. As I said earlier, we have a different nationalities working in, especially in the UAE. Use of expatriate labor, because UAE industry depends on expatriate labor, that causes the linguistics and cultural barrier. The technological advancement like BIM and integration communication tools, inconsistent usage is really a problem. The lack of UAE-specific empirical research addressing the socio-cultural and organization environment dynamics is not there. See, there are many research attempted in various other areas, but in UAE it is lagging. It is evident that such investigation should be carried out to identify the factors, barriers, and critical interfaces to determine the communication within the UAE construction project. My research objectives are to identify and classify the key factors which influences the project communication in UAE construction industry, and to understand the perceptions of the construction professionals on the factors and the communication practices that which influences the communication in UAE projects, and to identify the critical interface, that is consultant, contractor, subcontractor, which are the critical interfaces which is ineffective, which requires improvement. And the last one is to explore the barriers affecting the communication in UAE within the UAE project team. Research questions equates to that, which says that what are the main factors influencing the project communication? How do professionals perceive the factors and communication practices? Which critical interfaces require improvement? What are the major communication barriers for in the UAE construction project? With this, let us jump on to the literature review. I will rush through the literature review. There are various literature has been reviewed. It starts with the communication theories. The communication theory is the Shannon and Weaver model, which defines the communication as a linear process between sender, message, channel, and receiver, which is very simple. It is introductory model, but it is useful for understanding noise barrier in technical drawings. Berlow's SMCR model, which is interactive model, but it's good for communication preparation templates. Transaction theory, there is a multi-directional feedback within the team. And finally, the complex adaptive system, which communications evolves dynamically, which is detailed in my write-ups. The UAE construction industry, it is a fast-growing industry. Dubai and Abu Dhabi has a Burj Khalifa ambitious project like this. The major characteristic of UAE construction industry is diverse workforce. 80% of experts lead to communication. Regulatory environment, it is a where here we can get the permit system very easily, but we have 7 Emirates, each has a different dynamics in it, different criteria in it. Sustainable and innovation is also a major characteristic. The key challenges: project cost overruns, communication and documentation gap, labor turnover, and health and safety issues. The future outlook of Dubai is UAE is digital transformation, public-private partnership, which started happening in Abu Dhabi, especially in UAE, and infrastructure targeting AI-powered cities are likely to transform the UAE landscape, construction industry landscape. The construction team dynamics, it is a temporary and project-based structure. Multidisciplinary composition, various people, designers, structural designers, construction specialists, and specialist subcontractors. Fluidity of roles. Generally, what happens? People joins and changes very rapidly. Hierarchical structure and chain of command, especially in construction companies. The international and multi-ethnic team environment, as I said earlier, 40 to 50 nationalities are working in this construction industry. Team cohesion and psychological safety. Finally, the development of team dynamics through the project cycle. As Tuckman says, forming, storming, and performing, and then adjourning. But whereas in construction, before reaching to performing, people are getting away from the team, a construction team. So these dynamics has to be taken care. The potential factor influencing the project communications are leadership and organization factor, team dynamics and composition, language and cultural diversity, documentation and technological factor, that is very, very important, complexity and characteristics of the project, time and cost constraint, stakeholder involvement and transparency, regulatory and legal environment, physical and environmental factors. Critical interfaces on the construction communications are very, very important. The most vulnerable communication interfaces are consultant contractor interface, where the drawing is getting into reality through this interface, main contractor subcontractor interface, client consultant interface, like so on, intercontractor interfaces, project officer, site officer interfaces. All this needs to be identified, which require the improvement. That is what this thesis will try to attempt. Interdependency and cascading effects. The critical interfaces do not tend to fail in isolation. When one of these junctions fails, it could lead to the cascade effect. In UAE construction barrier, the communication barriers are multi-dimensional, linguistic, cultural, and technological and organizational. The barriers can be listed as language linguistic barrier, cultural barriers, hierarchical structures, and it moves on to emotional barrier, complexity of stakeholder interfaces. All these barriers needs to be explored. The conceptual framework came out of from the literature review in the thesis is the communication model I have based on structural based on Berlow's SMCR model. The project team dynamics are the influencing factor like hierarchy, interface, and structures. Cross-cultural and intelligent communication, cultural intelligence are the mediators. Digital tools are the enablers or even act as a barrier depending on the adoption, depending on the consistency of the usage. And finally, with the construction outcome, which is a dependent variable, and project performance linked with the KPI. The research approach and the design. The UAE construction industry communication pattern is defined by social, cultural, organization, and technological process. It will be appropriate to use pragmatic approach. Hence, I went ahead with the convergent parallel mixed method design. The qualitative interviews, qualitative research in terms of semi-structured interview has been performed, and the quantitative in terms of structured questionnaire survey has been performed. This mixed method findings by the process of triangulation, complementary, and cross-verification. The qualitative study is especially important in the situation where the existence of multiracial workforce and informal communication channels are major factors that influence the result of the project. Quantitative survey is important to statistically prove and to test the validity of the theme. How did I did the data collection? For qualitative, 20 numbers of participants, I have performed the semi-structured interview. The numbers are good enough, 12 to 20 interviews in case of homogeneous group of professionals. The purposive sampling technique has been performed. I have interviewed people across from Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, and Ras Al Khaimah, project managers, planners, contract administrators, and even the design coordinators. The data collection has been done through the interviews, through Zoom, Microsoft Teams, sometimes even personally. Depends on the logistics constraints. The questionnaire survey, the sampling strategy is, I have got around 260 responses through the stratified random sampling. Among them, the 6 incomplete responses were omitted, and finally I had 254 responses. And 250 responded is good enough to generate a meaningful statistics according to Tahir Dost. The data collection procedures are, I had around 32 questions on the questionnaire, which was categorized into 4 research question factors influencing 4 sections in a fact, followed with RQ1, RQ2, RQ3, and RQ4. The final one is the barrier of communication. The questionnaire survey conducted through online Google form, distributed through LinkedIn group, RICS, and CAOB. I have also used the Indian Institution of Quantity Surveys. The qualitative interview data analysis finding. 20 numbers of semi-structured interview were carried out across the various data to obtain the richer insight. NVO software used for organizing the data, coding, and thematic analysis. The following key qualitative theme emerged based on the research question: the leadership, management influence, cultural and language diversity, organization structure, digital communication technology, time pressure and workload, critical project interface, and behavioral factors. The findings on RQ1, that factor influencing the communication, the influence of leadership and management, which defines the basis of communication norms. Diversity in culture and language requires a sensitivity beyond the technical communication. Digital communication practices require shared practices and improved competency. The time pressure and workload shall systematically influence and affect the communication quality. For RQ2 findings for the communication practices are the perceived effective communication practices, disciplined yet flexible communication practices that support communication, the openness, trust, and cultural feedback. Communication has been viewed as a social and behavioral process. Let's move on to the finding for RQ3. The client and consultant interface requires to enhance the clarity, consistency, and documentation. Various participants, even the project manager from contractor and even from client project managers, were highlighting the importance of enhancing the clarity. Consultant and contractor interface requires to be sensitive interface, require to enhance the responsiveness. Immediately it has to be responded, understanding, and clarity compared to the other interfaces. Participants were repeatedly highlighting this. Site office, head office interface require to implement two-way communication and alignment, because always head office dominates the site offices. That needs to be changed over. Interfaces with regulatory authorities requires a yearly clarification, proactive communication. This was said by the participants. RQ3, the last one, the communication barriers. Language and linguistic barrier is a dominant barrier that directly affects, especially in the UAE construction industry. Most of the safety team was stressing it. Cultural and behavioral barriers, although it is subtle, but it is very influential. The barriers of hierarchy and power distance inhibit open communication. Findings, cross-holder comparison of communication experience. You can see the bad clouds. The developer and client, according to the developer and client perspective, a developer focuses on communication, which helps to make decisions, be accurate in reporting, and focused on project objectives. This developer client cloud greatly support this view because of the most prevalent word like leadership, governance, decision, approval, all such things. And the consultant perspective, based on consultant perspective, the most dominant word, repetitive words were compliance, coordination, documents, clarification, design, all such things. So based on main contractor perspective, the major repeated words were coordination, communication, pressure, site, schedule. subcontractor and MEP specialist perspective, the information, clarity, timing, sequencing, all this was there. The regulatory authority perspective, the approvals, compliance, submission, regulations, documents, regulation, and compliance to the standards, requirement, all such things were emerged. Let's move on to the data analysis quantitative part. I have used IBM SPSS statistics used for analyzing the survey data. IBM SPS commonly used in the construction management and social science studies because of its dependability and its ability to process complicated data. I have performed a descriptive various statistic analysis, starts with descriptive statistics, reliability analysis, exploratory factor analysis, correlation and regression modeling, which came up with a lot of interesting results. Interesting observations I have identified. During the data preparation screening stage, that included the data collection, data cleaning, treatment of missing values, outlier identification, and evaluation of data normality. Let's see the respondent profile. It starts with roles. There were around, in an average of 15 to 18 numbers of clients. Developer has been interviewed. The survey has been done with them. Consultant, government authority, main contractor. Likewise, it was balanced one. And position-wise, construction manager were the dominant guys. And the contract administration, even safety professionals, site engineers, and technical managers were did the survey. And experience-wise, the dominant one, 11 to 15 years. And of course, I purposely got even less than 5 years, around 10 participants, around 20 participants, to understand their view about the construction industry, UAE construction industry. And the project types, if you see, commercial, industrial, all the project type people were interviewed. That gives a mixed, balanced approach, balanced sense for this statistical results. Okay, the reliability analysis, all the construct achieve the acceptable Cronbach alpha value is more than 0.8, which was deemed as indicating the good reliability. Survey data and this finding considered statistically reliable. The exploratory EFA, exploratory factor analysis, confirms that KMO test measures the sampling adequacy as 0.92, which indicates sampling adequacy, and Burlett's test, which says 5,455, which says the suitability of factor analysis. The 4 factor structured identified with eigenvalue all achieved more than 1. Factor 1, communication barrier, communication interface, influencing factor, and communication practices. So the correlation analysis showed that communication practices, RQ2, shows the highest positive correlation with communication effectiveness, that is 0.563. And communication barrier RQ4 shows moderate negative relationship. Of course, communication barrier will have a negative relationship with the communication effectiveness, that shows 0.255. And influencing factor like RQ1 found to be relatively low correlation with communication effectiveness. Initially, I was wondering why it was happening, but later I realized that influencing factor are not having a direct impact, but although it has an indirect impact through the communication practices, which we can discuss during the integration stage. Communication interface RQ3 analysis showed that very weak or negligible correlation with communication effectiveness. That may be because it is a cross-sectional survey, which we see in later section. Let me go to the regression analysis. The finding, based on the regression analysis of variance, this model is statistically significant and communication, which says that the communication practices RQ2 were the strongest predictor. It has an unstandardized coefficient 0.088. which were the strongest predators. Communication barrier RQ4 negatively affect the outcomes. Communication interface and influencing factor shows indirect contextual influences. It's not like RQ2 and RQ4, it has a direct influence, but it is predicted that it has an indirect influences. See, the integration of qualitative and quantitative findings where the integration of data followed three main strategies: convergence, complementarity, and divergence. Convergence were observed in communication practices, that is RQ2, and communication barriers, RQ4. And complementary were identified in influencing factor. Of course, qualitative analysis stressed the importance of influencing factor, but in quantitative analysis, it was not stressing, it was not showing the statistical importance, but it has indirect impact, but it was recorded through the communication practices. Divergent observed on communication interfaces, qualitative studies says it's very highly important. Each and every participant stressed that, but whereas in quantitative, it was not showing the high importance. Probably it is because I have performed the cross-sectional method, cross-sectional survey. Mixed method approach strengthened the validity of findings. So the conclusion part, the discussion and finding is communication effectiveness is largely influenced by communication management practice. Effective management of communication barrier improves the communication quality and outcome. Contextual factors like leadership, culture, and hierarchy are significant influence, but their impact is indirect and goes through the communication systems and behavior of the organization. Communication effectiveness is a process driven. So the theoretical implications are this study contribute to the construction communication literature, particularly in UAE context. Structured communication practices are mediators and important determinant of communication outcomes. This study demonstrates mixed method applicability in construction management studies. The practical implications are it provides a practical guidance for the UAE construction industry stakeholder that includes even from the regulators and professional institution. HR, how has to do that? The detailed recommendation has been detailed in the write-ups. Recommends communication governance and digital integration. Integrated project delivery and collaborative procurement approaches contributes to the less fragmentation and improve the communication. With this, let's move on to the recommendation. The strategic recommendation, collaborative project culture, integrated communication framework, communication risk management, operational, formal, and standardized communication process, technological, embrace the use of communication system, including BIM, cloud-based softwares, centralized online communication system available for all stakeholders. For human resource, organize the periodic training in field of communication, technological, cross-sectional, cultural, all such areas. And finally, the policy recommendation, the standardized communication framework and best practice guidelines to be developed by the regulatory authority and professional bodies. Also, development of communication competency should be encouraged by the professional institution like RICS, CAUB, authority and developer to promote collaborative procurement and integrated project delivery methods. Study limitations are contextual scope. This research is restricted to the UAE. Cross-sectional research, as I said earlier, data measured once in a time. This may not be most suitable way of describing how communication dynamics evolve throughout the different phases of the project. I have employed Likert scaled survey instrument, which is hard to measure the problems such as interpersonal relationship. Advancement of digital technologies, digital management tools are rapidly evolving. Results concerning communication technology might become less relevant with the time. With this, the future recommendations are the longitudinal research study can be performed. The geographical area, comparative research across the various other countries in Gulf GCC, maybe Kuwait, Qatar, and digital technologies and AI-assisted communication, analytics, and automated workflow system opens prospective field of research. These are all my references. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Thank you for my supervisor. Thank you for this time. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lakshmanan. Really on time, exactly 25 minutes. All right. So I have to give one comment about your presentation. I like the way you, not only I'm sure all examiners would appreciate the way you separate your findings from qualitative and quantitative. So to everyone who is watching and for all those who are attending this session, please, if you are doing a mixed method, you need to explain very clearly your qualitative research, the findings, and then go to the quantitative. So Lakshmanan, you presented it very well. So well done on that. So with that, I'd like to open the floor to any comments, any question from anyone in this session.
A question, Madam Chair. Dr. Jack here.
Yes, Dr. Jacqueline, go ahead.
This is with reference to chapter 3, which is on methodology. I find that there is lack of justification. If you have selected population, what is the target population lacks clear mention. No justification to that. He has mentioned what sampling strategy he has utilized. However, how did he obtain his sample size? He claimed he obtained 254. How did he obtain the sample size of 254? Meaning, what formula did you use? Did you use Cressy and Morgan, Saunders, Cochrane, or did you use, there is one more formula, 3 or 4, which formula did you use to obtain your sample size? Not mentioned. So clear justification is required, especially in the chapter on methodology as to how these were obtained. And then for interviews, semi-structured interviews, I believe he must have had an interview protocol, also lacks mention. Interview protocol as to what type of questions were raised, whether it was a structured interview or semi-structured interview, this also lacks mention. Methodology, in my opinion, must be clearly reflected to avoid any questions, unwanted questions from examiners. So I hope this comment is taken constructively. But otherwise, if there could be an alignment between the methodology and the findings, right now it lacks an alignment. So therefore, this gentleman should try to build an alignment between findings and methodology. I think that would put him on a better track. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline. Thank you very much. So, Lakshmanan, just take that constructive feedback. Perhaps you may have written it in your paper, but during the presentation, maybe you can just add on or discuss with Dr. Basil to improve on your Viva, okay? And much appreciated, Dr. Jacqueline, for all those feedback to help our learners to improve so that they will be better prepared for their Viva or defense session. Thank you so much. And right. Okay. So with that, all right. So I would like to Lakshmanan, you can unshare your screen and I wish you all the best. So with that, the next on track would be Solomon, who is also going for his Viva Voce. All right. You can put your presentation on presentation mode, your PPT on presentation mode.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you. About now.
Yes, anytime you're ready, you can start 25 minutes from now. All the best.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. My research title is Leveraging Artificial Intelligence for Enhanced Decision Making in a Public Sector. That is a comprehensive analysis of selected public institutes in Ethiopia, which is I am located. And my name is Solomon Ogayo, and my supervisor is Professor Kanishka Abadi. So the agenda of this topic, today's presentation, has 5 chapters, as you said before, and the first one is an introductory chapter, the second one, the literature review, and followed by a research methodology, and data analysis, finding, and interpretation is the 4th chapter, and the 5th chapter is the summary and conclusion and the recommendation. So the first chapter, it's all about the introduction, background, and motivation. So as all we know, the AI impact or artificial intelligence is reshaping industries worldwide. This includes the public sectors as well. And why it matters, government requires a fast, evidence-based decision for policy formulations, resource allocation, and resource allocation and citizen service. So there are different supporting literatures for the AI involves accuracy, transparency, and efficiency. As of Anderson and Ryan's in 2018 publication, and McAfee and 2014 publication, and others as well, and House of Lords publications highlights AI potential to transform governance and efficient decision making. The research goal is examine AI roles in enhancing public sector decision making using a survey and literature review and reviewing existing policy documents. And the motivation is there are rapid socio-economic and political and environmental changes demanding the agile, accurate, and efficient governance frameworks. So the key focus of the topic is focusing on the benefits, utilizing or leveraging AI, like efficiency, speed, and accuracy, or in general, enhance the performance and effectiveness of the decision making. And another one is risks as well. Okay, we also focus on different risks while utilizing or leveraging AI, like biases, opacity, and ethical dilemmas, and governance challenge and implications as well. A statement of the problem, when we consider a private and public sector, a private firms like banks, hospitals, and retailers rapidly adopt AI to cut their cost and boost the competitiveness among other similar sectors. And a public sector adoption is not as we wish or as we want. It is very slow and fragmented and still at the experimental stage, especially in developing countries like Ethiopia. And unique public sector constraint like must ensure equity, transparency, and accountability and legitimacy, but public sectors are not doing business for just not for profit. So AI uses in policing, welfare, and healthcare allocations, which raises concern over bias. There are different barriers identified as a statement of the problem: organizational inertia and bureaucratic resistance, and limited resource like funding, infrastructure, and trained manpower. Employee concern, okay, they are very due to lack of training and awareness, they may think they lose their jobs. So this is also another concern. Legal and ethical gaps also there. No comprehensive regulatory framework exists. So that is also another issue that we need to answer. And stakeholders' trust issues, risk of encoding public confidence. So the research gap is lack of longitudinal studies and the stakeholder perception analysis and future projection is not that much in a publication areas. And need for a governance framework for balancing innovation and accountability. So for the policymakers, this also gives a good insight. As a research question, I focused on 3 main research questions. One is to show the correlation between the use of AI in public sector and ethical and legal issues associated with AI-based decision-making, and organizational preparedness and change management practice and successful implementation of AI in the public sector decision-making, and how can AI be used to improve the quality, precision, and efficiency of decision-making in a public sector. So the general objective, as I said before, it is simply leveraging AI and public sector decision-making and in a selected institutes, so public sector institutes. And the specific objective, it's directly aligned with the research questions to investigate how AI technologies, ethical and legal framework, integration, approach, and future trends affect the adoption of AI in decision-making. And the second one is to measure the impact of organizational preparedness, such as leadership, resource, change management, and employee training determines the successful utilization of AI in public institutions. And the last one is to determine how much AI implementation enhances the quality, precision, and efficiency of decision-making at the public sector. And the scope of the study, there are different scopes. The geographical scope of my study is focused in Ethiopia, specifically in Addis Ababa and some regional cities. And temporal scope, it is based on the past decade of digital transformation and the projection of the next 5 to 10 years transformation strategic plan of Ethiopia. And the thematic scope is like a machine learning, natural language processing, and different related things in different sectors like health, education, agriculture, safety and transportation sectors. Methodological scope, I used quantitative methods, and content scope, application, challenge, and its opportunity. So the organization of the study, as I said before, it has 5 chapters, and at the end, the reference, which is organized in APA 7 style, version 7 style, and there are different appendixes like questionnaires and other supporting documents. The key terms and operational definition, which is found in this paper, AI technologies and techniques, we mean ML, NLP, or machine learning, and natural language processing, computer vision, and different related things. Dependent variable, AI augmenting decision accuracy and efficiency, which is the degree to which AI improves the quality, the speed, and precision of the public decision. Ethical and legal framework, we mean a law and principles ensuring transparency. And future trend, we mean anticipated innovation and policy shifts in AI use. Integration strategy, that means the technical and organizational approach to embed AI into governance. So stakeholder perception means how citizens, officials, and partners view AI in governance in this paper, inside this paper. The expected outcome, there are different outcomes expected from the research. Theoretical outcome, like advance the knowledge of AI in governance. Practical outcomes, like guideline for effective AI adoption in Ethiopian public sector. For policymakers, it gives insight for ethical and legal framework for responsible AI use as a societal which enhance governance, citizen trust, and better societal service delivery. The literature review chapter, I tried to review more than 123 references, and I go through on all these through the systematic literature review technique, and I come up with a conceptual framework. The conceptual framework, after factor analysis, mainly two from the dependent side, which is ethical and legal issues, which consists accountability, fairness, privacy, transparency, and regulatory compliance inside it, and organizational preparedness like leadership, training, resource and change management, and employees' readiness as well to adopt AI technology. And this affects the decision quality and efficiency. When we say a decision quality and efficiency, we can measure through the accuracy, timeliness, consistency, and effectiveness. So these are the conceptual framework after the refinement and factor analysis. So some related variables are merged together, which talks about the similar things. But one thing here, there are moderators or moderating variables like bureaucratic resistance and workforce concerns, which affect the adoption speed, AI adoption speeds in the public sector. Another thing is privacy and surveillance and framing narratives, which also influences trust and public acceptances. So all these seen inside the thesis. The third chapter is research methodology and design chapter. So as all we know, research credibility relies on accurate data and sound methodology as Crosswell and Crosswell 2018 publication said, and study aims to validate a relationship between AI technologies and public sector decision making through a quantitative method research, which ensures quantitative analysis for the purpose of breadth analysis. So as a design, I used explanatory research design and quantitative approach. And the sample size is 437 respondents from the public sector institution. And the objective is empirically investigate factors influencing AI roles and AI on decision making. And the goal is ensure rigorous and robust empirical finding. And descriptive statistics also deployed, which used to summarize and organize core data features. And the reliability analysis also performed to assess the internal consistency through Krumbachi alpha. And multiple regression model also deployed to modeling and predicting dependent variables or outcomes, how much it is explained by the independent one. And explanatory factor analysis also performed, utilizing for establishing construct validities, and correlation analysis also examined the relationship between key variables, that is organizational preparedness and change management and ethical and legal framework on enhanced decision quality by utilizing artificial intelligence tools. Moderation analysis, which investigates the influence of third variable effect. As I said before, bureaucratic factors and the trust issue. As a method, I used a survey questionnaire, a closed-ended and Likert scale questionnaire to measure AI awareness and perception and ethics. And document analysis also performed, public policies, case studies to triangulate the primary data which gathered through the survey with the existing publications or the existing factors. And from the data sampling, there are various stratified random sampling method was used, and there are different groups like a public sector organization, policy makers, public sector organization employees, policy makers, different experts, and legal and ethical professionals. So using a G-power formula, there are 489 respondents are calculated or derived through the Cochrane 1977 sampling size determination formula. And the The data source and the data type, I used the primary data through survey and secondary data from government database and policy documents and academic literature. Data type is a quantitative, as I said many times, and a data analysis, I used a descriptive statistics like calculating the mean, standard deviation, frequency, and inferential statistics as well, correlation, regression, ANOVA also performant. And as I said before, stratified sampling was used, and proportional allocation across the strata also performed, and random selection within each stratum also done, ensure the representativeness and reduce a bias. Doing stratified sampling, it ensures representativeness of the data. And the validity, reliability, and ethical considerations, and from the expected outcome. From the validity, I perform a constructive internal and external validities and pre-tested instruments. My questionnaire or the tool is pre-tested on over 20 sample size prior to distributing or prior to publishing the Google form to the general sample size. I was conducting a 20 sample to check the reliability of the instrument. Krombacher Alpha for the survey also conducted. Ethical consideration, confidentiality or protect participants' data and identity as ensured, and informed consent also given for the respondents. A clear purpose, risk, and the benefit of the researchers communicated to the respondent. Conflict of interest, disclosure of a bias to ensure a credibility, transparency, and trustworthiness of the research. The expected outcome, a comprehensive understanding of AI in governance, identify drivers and barriers of adopting AI, provide ethical and legal recommendations, contribute to the policy, practice, and academic discourse as well. In chapter 4, I see the data analysis, finding, and interpretation. The first thing I perform is a convergent validity assessment with confirmation that measures items accurately and consistently, capturing their intended theoretical constructs to ensuring indicators converge to the same underlying phenomena. So the ethical and legal framework is organizational preparedness, moderating factors, and enhanced decision quality. All these variables are checked through the convergent validity assessment. So one of the check or the analysis is explanatory factor analysis. So the result of the component or the commonalities can be seen from here. And the ethical and the legal variable, it is 61.1%, which is an acceptable variance range. And the organizational preparedness is 67%, still acceptable because it is greater than 60%. And some literatures, if it is greater than 50%, it is acceptable. Enhanced decision qualities, almost 90%, and moderating factors, almost 99%. So the total variance explained through the explanatory factor analysis is 79.6%, which is acceptable. So from the scree plot and factor retention, we can see one thing from here, agent value confirmations. There are two components, as we said before, EL and OPCM. So the component one, lambda value is 2.18. And the second component, the lambda value is 1.0. So both exceed Kaiser's criteria, which is the agent value greater than 1. So it is in acceptable range. Sorry. The reliability analysis of the finding through the Krombacher alpha test, it is almost all are in acceptable value range, which is a threshold of 70%. So the ethical and legal framework, the alpha value is 84.5%, and organizational preparedness and change management, almost 86.1%, enhanced decision quality, 72.7%, almost 73%, and moderating factors almost 80%. The overall reliability is the alpha value of 87.7%. Under the questionnaire, there are 44 items before conducting a factor analysis. There were 44 items. So the respondent's profile or demographic characteristics is gender distribution. We can see a male is 52%, and a female is around 48%. The age group category almost from 18 to 14 years, 55%. So the majority of the respondents are young, so they understand the future of AI and its role in governance. And the marital status also mentioned, and the educational background. Most of them, the respondents, are a master level, and educational institutes also participated in the respond or filling the form survey. So PhD and above assistant professors, associate professors also answered for my questions. So they're around 30%. So there are service years and public sector experience also mentioned in the demographic information. Normality and descriptive statistics. I was conduct as skewness and courtesy, which is also in acceptable range values in plus or minus 1. The courtesy range or the symmetricity of the data, and the courtesy also in acceptable range values plus or minus 3. So the mean value of my study, the highest positive attitude recorded among all factors is organizational preparedness and change management, which is 3.71 mean score. And the lowest one is a moderating factor, which is 3.05 mean score, which is the lowest mean suggests persistent contextual barrier and challenges. From the inferential analysis, correlational analysis inside, we can see the factor analyzed data, person correlation matrix. So OPCM, or organizational preparedness and change management and enhanced decision quality relation, R is 73.2%, a very strong positive relation. And ethical and legal framework with enhanced decision quality relation is 67.3%, which is a still strong and positive relation. And when we see EL or ethical and legal framework with organizational preparedness and change management relation around 45.9%. So as we see from the data, there is no multicollinearity concern identified because all are below 90%, which is a threshold to check the multicollinearity. Actually, I also checked the multicollinearity through variance inflation factor and tolerance. Okay, select. Multiple regression model summary. As we see,
Solomon,
yes.
you have another 2 more minutes. Okay.
Okay, I will try to finalize. So this is a correlation coefficient around 85%, and the R square is 73.6%, which is almost the dependent variable is explained 73.6% through the dependent one. And when we see the F statistics or ANOVA, the p-value is almost less than 0.05. So this is statistically significant. And the Durbin-Watson statistics is 2.0, which is in acceptable range. So there is no autocorrelation problem in the research or in the data. So the beta value for the organizational preparedness and change management is still positive and strong predictor. And ethical and legal framework, also significant contributor. And interaction effect among EL and OPCM is not that much significant. So the p-value is greater than 0.05. So in chapter 5, a summary, conclusion, and a recommendation chapter, the key finding is a robust measure model, which is 79.59% of EFA, or explanatory factor analysis. And the primary drivers of enhanced decision quality are two variables, as I said before. So 73.6% variance in enhanced decision quality is by leveraging AI. So the hypothesis testing result, the first hypothesis, ethical and legal framework, were found to be significantly positive predictor of enhanced decision quality through AI use. So it is supported because the p-value is less than 0.001. And the second hypothesis is organizational preparedness. Still, it is supported because the p-value is as we see. And the third one is interaction between EL and OPCM. No significant synergetic interaction effect between EL and OPCM was found because p-value is greater than 0.05. So this means the EL and OPCM has addictive effect rather than the multiplicative effect. And the fourth hypothesis is moderating factors, EL on EDQ. A moderating factor influence ethical and legal framework on enhanced decision quality relation is supported because of the p-values, and MF moderating OPCM of the enhanced decision quality, still it is not supported. Okay, so the MF do not influence the OPCM to the enhanced quality, enhanced decision qualities. So theoretical implications, extended foundational theories like TAM, which is seen in the paper. TAM means technology acceptance model. So it broadened its scope to the public sector and AI adoption within the developing nations, and diffusion of innovation theory also highlighted organizational readiness as a critical.
Solomon, your time is up. You are still reading every detail.
Okay.
Can you wrap it up?
There are also practical recommendations and some conclusions and a future direction. Thank you very much. I appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Solomon. You need to practice more on your timing. Although for your Viva, you have extra 5 minutes. So you need to plan, have a watch and practice, okay? So with that, let me open the floor to anyone who wants to give comment, any question to Solomon. Anyone?
Madam Chair, Dr. Jack here.
Yes, Dr. Jack. Go ahead.
I'm again puzzled with after listening to his presentation. The RQ is research questions are qualitative based and the research objectives are quantitative based. Why? I always thought that the research questions must be aligned to the research objectives. This is one error I heard. Secondly, why the conceptual framework was not drawn now with a clear indication of the DV, IV, and the moderator. It was just narrated. But technically, we have to draw the conceptual framework. Why wasn't the conceptual framework drawn? Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jack. Solomon, you want to respond to Dr. Jacqueline's query? This is a way for you to practice your defense on your actual Viva.
Okay, thank you very much for the constructive feedback. I will adjust some unconsciously written things. So I will correct it, but in the paper it is correctly put it. So I will adjust for my presentation as well. But before changing my research method, I was used both qualitative, quantitative, but after the defense, proposal defense, I used only one through the, the recommendation of the examiners and my advisors as well. So I will.
But to add on, but if you are using quantitative and qualitative, then that should result in a mixed method and not only quantitative. So you have to be very careful, Mr. Solomon, because it will cause an entire misconception of your findings and your analysis. So if you happen to have both methods involved, then you should present qualitative findings separately and quantitative findings separately. So for now, it is necessary that you sit down with your supervisor to discern what is the research method that you have planned to adopt for your study, right? Thank you.
Currently, I used only one research method, so quantitative only, okay? There is no qualitative.
So you have to now reframe your research questions, because your research questions denote that the study is qualitative. How, what clearly denote it's a qualitative study, not quantitative. So you have to probably sit down and speak to your supervisor to make some minor amendments there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Dr. Jacqueline, thank you so much again for that constructive feedback. So, Solomon, not to worry, discuss with your supervisor. So long as you still haven't gone for your Viva, you still have time to actually review and make sure that your paper is in order before you go for your Viva, okay? So I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Solomon.
Thank you.
And is Amit in this session? Amit Arun Mokashi. Okay, calling once, calling twice. Okay, so he's not in. So, Solomon, you can unshare your screen. Priscilla, you are next. Priscilla Higgins.
I already unshared, Dr. John.
Unshare your screen, please.
Already
Yeah,
unshared.
Okay, Priscilla, we are waiting for you.
Yeah, sorry, 1 second. Just trying to
No
share.
worries. Just and your background is not using the GlobalNxt background.
I don't know if that's actually sharing. Is that sharing?
Yeah, it is sharing. Okay, just let me give you the cue to do your presentation. Okay, no, it's
Sorry, just
came.
1 second, because it's not actually sharing on my, I can't actually see it on my screen. 1 second. Window. That's actually sharing, yeah, you can see that.
Yes, it is sharing right now. So
Okay.
proceed. Okay. Are you okay? Are you able to see your own screen?
Well, no, I can't. I can't see it at all, but I'll just go with it. This is why I don't like Zoom. I prefer Teams. I can't actually see my screen at all.
Okay. So do you want to sort this? Because the next, then I will give the session to the next person. Because we have another 7 more person to do the presentation.
No, I'm just going to try go with it. I don't know why I can't see it, and I'm not going to fiddle around with it. But if you can see it, I'll know what I need to do. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, but it's not, first of all, it's not on the first page. Second of all, it's not on the presentation mode.
Okay, 1 second. I hate Zoom. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes. Okay.
And if I just
So
1 second, can I just 1 second? If I do this, oh yeah, okay. I don't know. Okay, right, let's go.
Okay, so Priscilla, first of all, my comment, you have to read the email that I sent. I clearly put there, you must change your background. You didn't do that. make sure during your proposal defense, you change your background. Okay, I've attached the background screen as well in the email. That's first. Secondly, you are doing your proposal defense, which is for Symposium is only 15 minutes. So whenever you are ready, you can start your presentation. But I will remind you in 2 minutes before 15 minutes. Okay, at 13 minutes I'll remind you, and then at 15 you need to stop. Same like Solomon. All right.
Yes.
So I wish you all the best. You can start whenever you are ready.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the title of my proposal is Program Management Practices Enabling Organizational Transformation during Large-Scale VDI Cloud Migration. So this is purely a qualitative case study. So to introduce the background, and this sits within VDI Cloud Migration transformations within a bounded investigation case study. And that case study was over a 3-year period within a single organizational setting. Large-scale VDIs are generally complex and involve significant technical and managerial coordination challenges. And they're generally framed as technical undertakings, but it's the organizational and human factors that remain central to how such programs are enacted in practice. And this is where the gap arises, because there's a limited understanding of the integrated understanding of how program management practices are enacted across specifically governance, execution, learning and change as represented within program artifacts. And this study aims to address that through an artifact-led interpretive case study design with qualitative design guide and interpretation. So it's not going to evaluate program outcomes or participant experience. So the problem statement. So the VDI cloud migrations are complex. They generally operate in high risk, areas, and are generally uncertain. They're fragmented in governance and execution practices, and there's limited integration with how the program management practices are enacted or aligned across the program lifecycle, as evidenced through program artifacts. So with these persistent challenges, that's what motivates the interpretive examination of how transformation programs are enacted and interpreted through program artifacts within the complex and uncertain environments. So in terms of the objectives of the study, these objectives reflect the exploratory and practice-oriented nature of the study, and are not intended to evaluate effectiveness in a comparative sense, but to illuminate how transformation was managed in practice within a specific organizational setting using the artifacts for that representation. So what are the objectives? So it's to explore how program governance and execution practices are enacted and stabilized through program artifacts, examine how learning, experimentation and change readiness are embedded within the program delivery as evidenced through the program artifacts, and then to identify case-informed insights that contribute to both practice and academic understanding of program management within the complexity of cloud transformation contexts. So in terms of the research questions, it's limited to 3 because a small number of focused research questions support coherent, in-depth interpretation while avoiding fragmented analysis and theoretical drift, which coincides with consistent qualitative inquiry authors. So what are those research questions? Well, the research questions are: how is organizational transformation enacted within a bounded VDI program as evidenced through the program artifacts? And how are program governance, execution and practices enacted and stabilized through the program artifacts? As well as how learning, experimentation and change readiness are enacted and embedded within the program delivery as evidenced through the program artifacts. So in terms of the literature review, so the literature review is going to govern 4 complementary theoretical lenses from an interpretive point of view. So they're chosen to support interpretive analysis of how organizational transformation is represented in program artifacts rather than representing empirical findings or hypotheses. So Pellegrini is chosen due to the fact that he constructs programs as social arenas, which allows the interpretive lens to use that in terms of how practice is represented in the artifacts. Fern and Dyer are chosen because of the experimentation that they are known for, which I want to look at in terms of how they are represented and embedded within the program delivery within the artifacts themselves. And then in terms of change readiness, I chose ADCAR over Cotter because ADCAR is more on the operational level, and the programs are obviously on that operational level with an active practice, and to use those as an interpretive lens. So it's not a diagnostic tool, it's an interpretive lens to understand how ADCAR is actually represented within the artifacts themselves. And then Orliski is actually used to support the interpretive lens of organizational practice and stabilized practice that's actually visible within the program artifacts themselves. And collectively, what these do then is these perspectives inform the core analytical teams around cognitive, relational, and cultural, which are used to interpret the artifacts, with Saldana actually used for guiding coding and redefinement. So what I've done then is actually brought that into an integrated conceptual model, and the reason being is because no single theoretical lens actually sufficiently captures the cognitive, rational, and cultural dimensions, whereas the integrated conceptual model helps to guide the interpretation of how program practices are actually represented within the artifacts, and each lens then is mapped specifically to that research question, which allows then for structured coding also to be derived from. So no hypotheses again are being looked at or proposed in this proposal. It's purely interpretive rather than explanatory. And from that, then it brings me to the methodology. So what is the methodology? So the key message here is this whole slide here outlines the full methodology, showing the case design, the artifact-based data, and semantic analysis approach used to interpret the data. So it is interpretive, and my role is interpretive in this proposal. I'm not the data source, I'm not using my lived experience, and that's consistent with costly with differentiating between being the researcher and the program manager. It's secondary data only, so it's only the artifacts, because the artifacts are what represent the sole empirical data, and with Tyrium forming the interpretive linkage. So the practitioner reflection is actually only used for contextual framing only, and for methodological clarification, and it doesn't constitute formal data in any shape or form. So all findings in the future will actually be derived from the artifacts themselves. It's in a single case bounded VDI 3-year program within a single setting, and because the focus is on documented representations of practice. It's going to have a thematic analysis, which is theory informed from Braun and Clark, and then it's guided through the conceptual framework that I just mentioned on the previous slide, with the coherence ensured through semantic coding and theoretical integration from Saldana. So to conclude, in terms of the research design and strategy, the artifacts constitute the sole empirical evidence, and all interpretations are an analytically inferred representation of practice. They're not claims about actors' intentions, experience, or outcomes. So it's purely consistent with a qualitative approach in terms of using artifacts for contextual richness. So from the integrated conceptual model will bring me to this operationalized pre-coding matrix, which links back obviously to the research questions. And these are deductive themes, and obviously will be redefined and iterative obviously throughout the process when I move through that process in terms of the artifacts, because like I mentioned, the artifacts are representation of practice, which is the focus of this proposal. So to conclude, what are the potential contributions? Well, it's an integrated conceptual framework around a multi-dimensional framework of cognitive, relational, and cultural. From a practical perspective, it's an interpretive insight into program practices as represented in artifacts. So it's not evaluating any outcomes. And methodologically, it's an artifact-led qualitative single case study design. The limitations obviously is that there is no lived experience or actor interpretation. It is in a single bounded case, but it's more around analytical generalization, which is the purpose. So to conclude, it's an interpretive, artifact-based analysis only, No casual, evaluative, or experimental claims are being used in this proposal. And that concludes my proposal. References are on the next slide.
Okay, so Priscilla, thank you for your presentation. I have to comment that you finished within 10 minutes. Okay, so with that, I also have a few tips and advice, or rather, I would like to just ask you on the research methodology. What if the examiner were to ask you, why did you choose the qualitative research methodology? Why not using a quantitative or even a mixed method? Would you be able to defend and explain your reasoning of why this methodology was chosen?
Yeah, because it's a single case study. It's bounded within the 3-year case study, which is consistent with qualitative design. And the artifacts are a representation of practice, which is what I'm looking for, rather than outcomes or lived experience in relation to people's experience, because that can change, right? And it helps with eliminating or reducing bias, right? Because I was also involved within the program itself. So by using the program artifacts, they're more consistent, they're traceable records, and they allow then rigorous, I suppose, coherence in terms of thematic analysis and structure coding to be derived from that.
Okay, good. So you have your the way you did your research and your study. You have that fundamental. Now, the second point I want to highlight, this is very, very important for your research methodology. Did you have any sampling method that was not mentioned? Okay. Secondly, there's quite a couple of things. The second one is I didn't see what analysis tool that you plan to utilize. Okay, so all these must be explained or shared. Okay, what kind of tool that you're going to use okay, during the proposal. And did you mention anything about ethical and limitation of the studies?
No, I didn't actually mention
it. I might have missed it, but these are fundamental points for the chapter 3, which is the research methodology.
Okay, so a quick question. When you're saying about the analyst tool, I mentioned thematic analysis, right? So I'm going to use Braun's thematic analysis, and then I'm going to use Saldana's coding matrix. So that actually, it's theory informed, which gives me the pre-coding matrix that I will then redefine as I'm going through the data analysis. Is that not the analysis tool? That's my analysis framework.
That is not a software. You need to use a software to do your analysis.
Is that mandatory?
Yes. Yes. Yes, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can discuss with your supervisor to clarify on that. So the software tools must also be mentioned, or rather planned, so during proposal, you plan to use, if you plan to use a certain software, but eventually if you used another software during your Viva, that's okay. But you must have a plan, because this is a research proposal, right? Okay, so that's I hope that clarifies this. Okay, now
it does, but it is slightly disappointing, just as a side comment, because that was never mentioned within my feedback with my supervisor. So, you know, I believe that should have been mentioned before I got to this point.
Okay, so Priscilla, it's okay. This session is for us to learn, all right, and to take constructive feedback, okay? So we just want to ensure that before you go for the actual defense, you are well prepared. So there is still a way, a space for you to improve your paper, or still discuss with your supervisor, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, during your presentation, I may have missed it, did you mention anything about any ethical consideration and limitation of your studies?
I don't think I actually mentioned that sentence, but I can add that in. That's fine.
But in your writing, was that
I don't
part
think
of
I actually,
your...
no, I don't think
Okay.
so.
All right. So because I find that your research methodology need more body, more strength. All right. So what you
Okay.
can do is after this session, you can book a session with your supervisor and go through this. Don't feel disappointed. At least you didn't have this kind of question during your during your proposal defense. So you are well prepared. So we want to make sure that you're well prepared before you go for your actual proposal defense. All right?
Yes, understood.
Okay. All right. So let me open the floor to anyone else who'd like to give any feedback or comments. This is more for improvement, okay? So anyone on the floor who would like to say anything? Okay. So if there is none, all right, Priscilla. So I wish you all the best. You may discuss with your supervisor, all right? And
Perfect.
you can unshare your slide.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Priscilla. Okay, next on the list is Swaminathan Tyagarajan. Are you there?
Yes, I am very much there. Yes. Give me a second.
Okay. Can you please switch on your video?
Sure.
All right.
Hope
Okay,
I am
great.
visible. Yes.
Yes. Can you please share your PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, I'm doing it. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is. Okay. So, right. You are doing a proposal defense, which means that you have exactly 15 minutes for this symposium. All
Sure.
right. At 13 minutes, I will give you a reminder. And for the actual, it is 20 minutes. Okay. But for
Sure.
today, it's going to be 15 minutes. So anytime you are ready, you can start your session. All the best.
Sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Myself, Swaminathan, making this presentation from Chennai, India. So my topic is sustainable procurement in the Indian automobile industry. There is a background for choosing this topic, which I'm going to narrate in the coming slides. So there is a policy and there is a gap between the policy and the actual adoption of the policy and enforcement. Why it is so, what can make it better, how we can address this gap. That is what the analysis is going to be. And I am guided by Professor Netsat, and thanks for that. Background, why this topic? Again, India is a growing economy with close to $4.15 trillion GDP, and 1/4 of the revenue is coming from automobile, meaning 50% of the, close to 50% of the share is coming from manufacturing. Out of this 50%, again, another 50% is from automobile industry. In terms of percentage of contribution to the GDP, it is around 7.1%. And the number of vehicles produced is close to 30 million per annum. And indirectly and directly, it is employing close to 19 million people. There are 8,000 plus registered suppliers are involved here, and close to 80,000 unregistered suppliers are involved. And this is fourth largest market globally. And though it is called as a Detroit of India or Detroit of Asia, there are enough of constraints which is governing and limiting the industry from doing better. There are enough of policies and procedures in place. The actual problem is India is not short of ideas or policies or even laws. The actual enforcement is the problem in India, being a developing economy. And one side we are chasing tall numbers as a target, with a good 6.5% CAGR is our growth rate. On the other side, it comes at what cost? Is it really worth doing it? And progress or growth not at the cost of quality of life, right? That is the underlying principle with which I intend to do this analysis or research here. And there are policies listed on the side. You can see here. There are BRSR, Make in India program, FAME policies, and even many auto giants like Toyota, Volkswagen, BMW, they are coming out, binding their suppliers in terms of enforcing their procurement policies, in terms of sustainability and its compliance. But none of them are yielding the expected result. Why it is so, and how we can bring a discipline through a structured framework. That is all going to be my research. So in terms of the implementation gap, okay, there is a desire, there is an aspiration. How well we are prepared to that, how well we are compliant to that. That is all about this. Okay, why they are not able to do it? The number one problem is there is a cost pressure. Okay, the tier 1, tier 2 vendors, they're actually working on very thin margins, and with which they are not able to contribute for these kind of green initiatives. Every initiative is coming at a cost. There is a financial component attached to it, but small vendors are not able to cope up with that. Second one is supply chain opacity. Opacity again refers to the limited visibility or no visibility, and we are trying to shoot in the dark. Why? Because the visibility or the traceability is limited to tier 1 suppliers and OEMs, whereas the large amount, the significant practices are coming from the tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers, where hardly there is no mechanism in place or process in place to have that tracing. And the third one is, though there are global policies and frameworks available, India is a unique market. We don't have any unique or specific India-specific framework, which is very important and the need of the hour. That also we are going to cover in our research. The fourth one is about the technology adoption. Though we are in the digital race, we are living in the new age of digital adoption. But when it comes to the automobile industry, the actual adoption is very, very low because of most of the suppliers are MSME, medium and small scale suppliers. And though the big giants are enforcing them, you have to go for it again. And there is no incentive for the small vendors to go and adopt for that. That is a major issue. And finally, the policies are not communicated properly. And for everyone, they are looking at, okay, what is in it for me? Why at all I have to go for green procurement? And there is a big awareness issue. And okay, everyone is hearing, okay, there is a global warming issue, and which is influenced by the heat or CO2 emission, greenhouse emissions, all that, right? Unless otherwise it happens to me, I don't want to believe it, or I don't want to contribute it. That is the actual attitude with which this industry is operating. How my research can help them to come out of that comfort zone and contribute to the mother nature. And this is, I am on the next slide, which is talking about the research aim. Okay. And there are frameworks, there are policies, and there are laws which is governing this industry and to contribute for the ESG. That is environment, social governance, or the TPM, that the triple bottom line policy, which is coined by Dr. John in late 1990s. But the adoption is a problem here. Okay, how well we can evaluate the current sustainable practices, okay, in the OEMs, tier 1, tier 1 and tier 3 suppliers. And how we can see every transformation initiative should ideally start with baselining the current performance. Where am I standing? How best in class practices are running? What is the gap? Unless otherwise that kind of exercise is done, it is very difficult to change the culture here, right? It requires material change as well as behavioral and cultural change to attain this. To have that in place, there should be a strong framework which is governing this, which is called a sustainable framework, procurement framework, or SPF. So, for example, whenever you intend to buy a product or avail a service, the actual sustainability practices should be embedded right from the beginning. Okay, am I onboarding a vendor who is committed to sustainable practices? Second one, at every stages of the supplier life cycle, for example, okay, you are done with the vendor identification. Second one, you are onboarding him as a approved supplier. That time, in between, you are running an RFX event, like you're running a tender. During the tendering process also, there should be a discipline and parameter which is governing and giving enough of weightage for sustainability practices. Okay, you have a desire, but you don't practice it, means there is nothing is going to improve, right? So that way, there should be a framework which is governing these initiatives, and then going by the principle which is not monitored is not controlled, right? By that, there should be a discipline, there should be a framework, and there should be a governance mechanism to drive this. That is a aim, actually. And the third one is how technology can enable this, because everyone feels, no, it is not going to happen. For example, if Walmart US is asking a towel, turkey towel used to be with the sustainable practices, okay? And the roots are going to the seed, the cotton seed, how the farmer growing the cotton seed, how it is getting converted till the time it reaches the Walmart shop, how the practice is there. Is it practically possible for someone to trace this? Yes, it is possible. Like the latest technologies like blockchain and all, which is with RFID capabilities, they can very well trace the journey of a towel right from the hot cotton seed till the time it reaches the end user. That is very much possible. And the fourth one is, yes, there are policies in place, how well it is influencing the suppliers and influencing the tier 1, tier 2, 3 suppliers and their behaviors. That is the fourth one. Fifth one is, yes, with all this understanding, how we can contribute to this, how we can build this framework to help the industry as well as to help the economy. That is all about 4. These are my research questions here. You can see here. And as I mentioned, every transformation initiative should be driven by understanding the baseline. First, we have to understand what are the practices that is in place. And there is a policy. Are you first of all aware of this policy? If you are aware, to what extent you are practicing it? That is question number 1, right? Number 2, what are the barriers? Okay, you have a desire, you have an aspiration to follow that. What is stopping you today? Why you are not able to do it? Is it cost? Is it capability? Or is it something to do with your technology enablement? These are the things. And question number 2, okay, how you are able to measure it? Okay, you are saying that, yes, I am practicing it. Okay, whether it is bad or good, how bad or how good it is, are you measuring it? Unless you measure it and it is not going to happen, right? The change is not going to happen. Research question 3 is, again, how well you are technology enabled to do this. But I am going by the example I quoted, how the traceability happens from throughout the value chain of a product, right from the raw material till the time it reaches the end user. And the fourth one is, okay, how well you are aware of the policies made in India, make in India, as well as FAME. FAME stands for faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles, which is contributing for the emission reduction. That is question number 4. Question number 5 is, okay, what components and pathways and governance structure define an effective validated SPF, that is sustainable procurement policies, that will be suitable for Indian automobile industry. Yes, I am on chapter 2 now. Yes, there are policies, there are frameworks that are available. First one is triple bottom line, which is nothing but the 3 P's: people, planet, and the third one is about the profit. Every business is running for profit. At the same time, you cannot do that at the cost of people's quality of life or even making damage to the planet. That is about the 3 TPL. And stakeholder theory, how well we are able to take care of the investors who are running the business or who has the vested interest in running a business, how well the customers are enabled, how well the customers are having the NPS, all that. Third one is the life cycle approach. There are methods to run the project. From the beginning, a product is coined, a design is concepted, from concept to product, and product which is produced from a factory till the time it reaches the end user place, the entire life cycle. Okay, what are the various costs associated with that? How we are able to have visibility to that? That is the third one. Fourth one is about the dynamic capabilities. That is analyzing the technology adoption. Yes, as I mentioned, like there are enough of technology that is available today, and how well we are able to adapt to that. This is on the literature gaps. As I mentioned, there are policies, there are frameworks available, but those are not specific for a unique country like India, which is a developing economy. And India as a geography, though we are number 4 in the global economical growth rate, but there are certain nuances which is binding the Indian Asia, particularly Indian market, right? So that way, what are those specific policies that would help? That is one. That is one of the major gap. Second one is no evidence of technology integration. There are companies, big companies, large companies who have invested heavily on like your SAP, Oracle kind of platforms, but still there is a gap. How we can address that gap? That is another gap here. Third one is about the unexplored policy. And Make in India frame, these are policies made at the boardroom level, ministerial level, without considering the actual deployment issues on the ground. Okay, that is the third one. Fourth one is there is no India-specific business case. As I mentioned, Indian Tier 2, Tier 3 vendors are operating at a very, very thin margin. How they can accommodate this? How they can contribute for green procurement? Unless otherwise there is a incentive schemes that are announced to them, it is not going to happen forever, right? That is a problem number 4. Actually, these are the gaps in the literature which I found. And right hand side, these are my hypotheses. Okay, there is an organization and there is a formal sustainable practices in place. How well it is demonstrated? Okay, if somebody is saying yes, I am disciplined, what are the how it can be measured? Those are the things. Okay, how well you are reporting your GHG emissions, CO2 emissions, by when you are going to be sub-zero, all that, right? And hypothesis 2 is, yes, there is a strong correlation between the OEMs and the Tier 2, Tier 3 suppliers, and the sustainability practices practiced by Tier 2, Tier 3 vendors should reflect in the OEM's product, okay, in the OEM's book of accounts. And then only we can believe, yes, there is a positive correlation. The third one is about the organization with the higher sustainable procurement maturity will definitely demonstrate a long-term cost efficiency. For example, how well we are able to contribute for reverse cycling. Okay, the recycling of plastics, recycling of waste, how it is going to pay back you. That is all about the third one.
Okay, Swaminathan, you only have 2 minutes.
Sure, let me wind up in
Right.
3 minutes. And this is a research methodology again, and I chose to go for a mixed method. Why? Because there should be a depth as well as there should be a breadth also, right? That is why I am going for qualitative as well as quantitative methods. And it should be backed by facts and figures. That is the reason I chose to go for this. And the hypothesis testing, yes, you can see here, this is self-explanatory. Again, in the interest of time, I am not going through this in detail. And how I am planning to do this survey and interviews is, you can see here, I am planning to do minimum 7 procurement managers from large OEMs like Tatas, Mahindras, and Marutis like that. And 5 sustainability officers who is actually driving the sustainability practices in any given organization. And again, coming down to the Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 vendors, there also I have a equal distribution so that we have a good amount of representation from each plant. And geographic spread, you can see here, Chennai and Pune are considered to be 2 major automotive belt of India and followed by Delhi NCR. That is the reason I have chosen this geography. And yes, significance and expected outcomes of this. Yes, there should be a theoretical significance. Mixed methods, again, it is going to help me in terms of giving a qualitative as well as quantitative output. And I will also make an attempt to check how well the policies are actually helping the industry to do a better job. Second one, practical significance. As I mentioned, India-specific policies needs to be driven, formulated first of all, and how it should be enforced. What is how it should be incentivized so that to create interest from the suppliers, that is also there. And finally, with all this, I am planning to build a sustainability procurement framework that should help irrespective of the size of the vendor, whether he is contributing for a 10 million revenue or 100 million revenue, it should start from the bottom. Then only you can see a product at the OEM level. If you are buying a car, the car is a sustainably procurement, produced car means we cannot ensure that, okay, this company is producing that. It should actually start from the tier 3 vendor who is actually producing a small nut or bolt, right? So that way, the practice should be embedded in such a way throughout the life cycle of the product. So that is what the research ambition is. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Okay, so thank you for that presentation. Just a suggestion, Swaminathan, if you could just practice a little bit on your timing, okay, that would be good before your proposal defense.
Sure.
Now, I'd like to open the floor for any questions or any comments from anyone. No? No question? No comments? Okay, all right. Swaminathan, you can unshare your screen.
Sure.
Next
Thank you so
is
much.
Pranjal Dubey. All the best, Swaminathan.
Thank you. I already unshared
Pranjal,
it.
are you there? Right.
Yes, I'm there. I've shared my screen.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so Pranjal, you also 15 minutes because you are doing proposal defense. So just a suggestion, don't go so detailed into your literature review. All right.
Okay. Got it.
Focus on your chapter 1 and chapter 3. Okay, and
Got it.
keep with the timing. All right.
Okay.
Wish you all
Yeah.
the best. Anytime you are ready, you can start.
Okay, I'm ready. I can start.
Okay, you can start.
So, good evening, everyone. I'm Pranjal Dubey. I'm presenting my DBA research on comparative analysis of neural network and traditional statistical forecasting model for financial planning and analysis. That is FP&A. That's decision support system. So, as we all know, forecasting drives budget, capital allocation, and CFO guidance on boards. Yet, most terms still use traditional machine learning, even as AI and neural network become accessible. The central question here comes up: when do neural network deliver a better FP&A forecast, and when do CFOs find the usable, explainable, and governable? The theme, it's not just about better model, it's about better decision making. So let me start with the introduction, where FP&A actually sits in the modern CFO office. So if it looks like at recent industries, FP&A is no longer just a rolling out budgets. It's the backbone of how CFOs make decisions through forecasting, budgeting, and ongoing performance analysis. And the quality of those forecasts matters when forecasts are solid. CFO can plan cash flows confidently, allocate resources, and they'll have the most impact and respond faster when uncertainty hits. As we all know that market is fluctuating so much, this is really important in our today's world. But when forecasts are off, it creates problem across the whole organization. Working capital tightens, guidance gets shaky, and investors' confidence hits at a target. That's why traditional statistical models like ARIMA, regression, exponential smoothing still shows up everywhere in finance. They're transparent and stable, and mostly important, CFOs and auditors understand them. They work really well, and environment is predictable, and relationships are linear. But we are also seeing complexity in financial data as market is shifting faster. Multiple factors interact with each other and aren't a predictable line. And in those cases, neural network actually works better than capturing non-linear patterns that traditional models really miss. So here's it will be a question that tackles: when we benchmark both approaches side by side, which forecasting methods better that deliver the better decision making in financial planning and analysis, and more importantly, when should a CFO choose one over the another? The problem statement here is, as financial planning and analysis function depends on accurate financial forecasts to support budgeting, resource allocation, performance monitoring, and strategic marketing, traditional forecasting methods such as regression, exponential smoothing, time series models have been widely used for this purpose. However, these methods often assume linear relationship, may struggle to capture complex and nonlinear patterns present in a large corporate financial dataset, potentially reducing forecast accuracy and limiting their effectiveness. So while these models have shown promise in financial forecasting application, there remains a limited empirical evidence comparing their forecasting accuracy and decision support effectiveness against traditional statistical method within real-world financial planning environments. Consequently, organizations lack sufficient evidence to determine whether adopting neural network-based financial models lead to more accurate forecast and better informed financial planning or strategic decision. This gap creates the need for a systematic comparative analysis of neural network and traditional forecasting model and evaluate the relative forecasting performance and their contribution to enhancing financial planning decision support analysis per the CFO's perspective. Getting to the research objective, there are two core research objectives: benchmark traditional versus AI forecasting accuracy, efficiency, and interpretability, and draw insights from earning calls and CFO's commentary. Together, they deliver a traditional benchmark and practitioner voice. There are 4 specific research objectives. Compare 5 models, that's mainly the traditional models and the neural network model. Test statistical significance across short, medium, and high horizon. And then come up with the result evolution using MAPE, RMSE, and MAPE. These are the evolution matrices. Then third is analyze earning calls and report the trust, transparency, governance, and AI adoption. Fourth is integrate quantitative results with practitioner heights for FPN model selection and recommendation. The first research question is pretty straightforward. Which model actually forecasts better for metrics that CFOs care about: revenue, expenses, EBITDA, cash flow? The second question, deep diver: do AI model performs traditional better than traditional models across the board? I'm talking about across different firms, different industries, and different time zones: short term, medium, long term. Is this advantage real or just a fluke in certain cases? The third question shifts to human side. What themes show up when CFOs talk about trust, explainability, and AI adoption? What are they actually concerned about? What are they excited about? This comes from listening for what they are saying in earning calls and corporate documents. The fourth question brings all together: how are forecasting results and executive concerns actually guide model selection in financial planning and analysis? This is where the study comes from practical guidance of CFOs making this real decision. So the flow goes from technical performance to real world application, which is exactly what CFO needs. Research hypothesis is the first hypothesis test whether AI model actually reduces prediction error compared to ARIMA, or like the traditional machine learning model. That's accuracy question. The second hypothesis recognize that not only industries are same. A model that worked great for the tech company much not add value to a utility firm or sector context matter. The third hypothesis looks at a time. Traditional models often grade it you forecast further out, and neural network maintain accuracy better over medium and long-term horizon. The fourth hypothesis connects the market condition. In stable period, both approaches might perform similarly, but when uncertainty spikes, the gap should widen. Neural network adapt better to trials. Together, these hypotheses guide the entire analysis and tell us when neural network are worth the investment. Significance. Here's why the significance this study really matters. Right now, there's a gap AI forecasting might be superior on paper, but CFOs aren't adopting it. The problem isn't the technology, it's the lack of both real ready evidence and links accuracy to usability. CFOs need to justify decision to board and investors and they don't have the proof yet. This study fills the gap by benchmarking 5 models, that is the ARIMA, regression, exponential smoothing, LSTM, transformer across SP and 8 data and across multiple horizons, real data and real comparison. It goes beyond just the numbers. The study pulls practitioner sentiments from earning calls, annual reports, and investors' presentation. What our CFOs actually say about trust, transparency, AI adoption, that context is critical. The outcome of CFO's decision intelligence, clear model thresholds, implementation roadmaps, governance framework, and specific sector benchmarking. This is not just a theory, it's a practical guidance. Ultimately, it delivers a defensible data-driven framework for FP&A terms transitioning from legacy to AI forecasting. CFOs can use this to make confidence evidence based on decisions. So let me deep dive quickly on the key terms that I'm using throughout the presentation and in my thesis. First is FP&A is a corporate function that handles budgeting, forecasting, and strategic decision support for CFOs. Forecasting itself is just estimating future financial outcomes like revenue or cash flows. I'm only now comparing two main approaches: traditional machine learning. These are the statistical methods most FP&A terms used today, like regression, exponential smoothing, ARIMA, etc. Neural network models, on the other hand, are based on AI, LSTM, transformers, GRU. These capture nonlinear patterns that traditional methods miss, and hybrid methods try to do the best in words like ARIMA or LSTM. For accuracy, I'm using MAP, RMSE, MAPE. I'm testing across these four forecast horizon: short term for next quarter, medium term for fiscal year, and long term for strategic planning. A couple of important terms: explainability means like the CFOs actually justify this model. Their board governance means it is like a basic compliance, and a practitioner sentiment, and is what CFOs actually saying in about AI in earning calls, which I analyze using BERT-based NLP method. Finally, all my data comes from SEC and SEP 500 companies. So these are the building blocks. Let's quickly go to the literature review. There's a theoretical literature review. Let me walk through that. So according to Henman and Anasopoulos in 2021 and Petropoulos and colleagues in 2022, traditional machine models are interpretable and stable, but they underperform when data becomes volatile and non-linear. On the AI side, benchmark consistently showing LSTM and transformer models deliver superior accuracy, but there is a paradox here. According to EY's report in 2025, ML usage in financial planning forecasting actually declined from 11% in 2021 to 6% in 2024. AI is better on paper, but adoption is dropping. And the CFA Institute reported that same thing in 2025. 82% of technical studies claimed neural network superiority, yet in 14% mentioned actual AI forecasting. The blocker, explainability gap. CFOs can't explain AI model to the boards, and they don't use it. Gartner in 2026 reported another layer: AI-based demand forecasting can reduce errors by 20 to 50% compared to the traditional models, but CFOs need both statistical superiority and business usability. So, this literature review clearly connects. AI promises better accuracy, but CFOs aren't adopting it. The missing piece is board needs ready evidence that links accuracy and usability. This study brings a gap by benchmarking S&P 500 and pulling practitioner sentiments from earning calls, and it addresses the evidence gap between AI and promises the CFO reality. There's a conceptual gap as well. where Marcus and Hibban in 2000 and has mentioned that superior accuracy of AI is not linked to CFO's decision making, ongoing process, or business outcomes. Just a model has lower error. That doesn't mean that it's supposed to better decision. According to FP&A in 2026 noted limited conceptual models explaining how forecasting fits into broader FP&A system, planning cycle, and governance workflows, which have clear maps to how models connect to the real-world process. And Federal Reserve in 2025 highlighted limited treatment and of uncertainty probabilistic forecasting. Most studies focused on point forecast rather than tail risk qualification. In volatile terms, qualifying uncertainty matters more than predicting a single number. There's an empirical gap as well. According to Hibban and Marketize in 2000 and consulting companies, there is a gap in Indian and emerging market. Most studies use developed market data on M-series competition. We don't have enough evidence from marketing context like India. FP&A in 2025 highlighted a gap in human judgment and override behavior. Few measures override frequency, direction, and magnitude. We don't know how models affect when and how CFOs override forecast. Same with Hidman in 2008 and Armstrong in 2007 identified a lack of statistical significance in testing comparing neural network versus AI classical models. So this study bridges the gap.
Pranjal, can you please move on to your research methodology? You spend too much time on your chapter 1 and chapter 2. You're already 15 minutes.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, I'll just give you 1 more minute to wrap up your research methodology.
Okay. So this framework tests the decision support system. This is the conceptual framework. Then the research methodology is related to mixed methodology. There are like both quantitative and qualitative benchmarking is been in there. Pragmatism is the major philosophy. Data is pulled from SEP 500 and SEC ADR points. There are 3,000 quarterly data points, and the models used are both machine learning and AI mixed method. This is the research design that I have prepared for the entire data flow. The targeted population comes from SEP 500. The sampling method is being used as a stratified sampling method, and the size is been coming to 33% of the sampling rate. The sampling design and the formulation is being added over here, like how 33% is being calculated and from where the data comes from. Data collection techniques are over here, like how the data has been collected and how the data, how the method falls. This is mainly from SEC ADR filing, earning calls, transcripts that comes from CFO sentiment or transparency, trust and implementation, annual reports of the SEP 500, investor presentations, then how data processing is made on Python clean on using Python, and the process has been taken. Then next comes on the other techniques, like how the quantitative analysis has been performed using descriptive statistic, forecasting models, error statistical tests, and qualitative using NLP sentiment analysis that for the CFO's sentiment and AI adoption. That's why it's called as a mixed method integration, both comparing both the qualitative and the CFO sentiment. The ethical considerations are taking place. There's no PII data being used anywhere. No shape values and feature importance makes the model interpretable, and there is no statistical significance testing validates that finding. But there is a limitation to the model. The data is limited to a time frame from because AI comes into play later than 2019. So there's a time frame horizon of 5 years. The data sources are exclusive using SEC findings and earning calls, and may miss some of the AI implementation that is not publicly disclosed. And as for casualty changes, there are lack of variables or controls because this is like the data is pulled from all the online sources, and there can be any oversight of relationship. And the market volatility because of the pandemic situation, the inflammation in stocks and AI confront AI impacts and financial performances. The benchmark and the conclusion, the benchmark is like forecasting model rigorously on FP&A data, integrate the qualitative and both quantitative results. The identity is decision rules that link both model context and governance. Together, this enables better forecasting and better decision making for the CFOs and enterprise and FP&A. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pranjal, for that presentation. So you were actually practically rushing your research methodology. All right. So let me ask you something. Before you came for the symposium, did you practice presentation within 15 minutes?
Yes, I tried my level best that I could complete it within 15 minutes, but I was expecting it.
That's okay. You are spending too much of time on your chapter 1 and chapter 2. Okay. So that's okay. As what Dr. Rana advised from the beginning, this symposium is for you to review and then also to get any feedback, any comments. All right. So it's okay. This is not your actual defense proposal defense. You've got 20 minutes on your proposal defense. So please do your timing. Don't get carried away on your background, your literature, because the most important is you need to present properly. All right. As the copy of your research proposal will be with your examiners, they would have already read your paper. Okay. So all you have to do is when you come for a proposal defense, you are convincing the examiner that your proposal defense, your research is the right method and the right process that you want to administer, and that is how you need to convince. So if the examiner would have read your paper, if the examiner, after reading the paper, want to clarify something, and maybe during your presentation you have already explained that, then they would acknowledge that in your during your session. Okay, so that is the little bit of advice. Now, one more point I managed to see during your research methodologies slide. I'm not sure what is the slide number. Okay. For this, you haven't done your data collection, right?
Yeah. So data collection, like yes.
Have you done your data collection yet?
Yes, I've pulled it from the SAP 500 sources and this
No. Have you done your data collection? Have you gone to go and do your interview or go and run your questionnaire to the potential?
No, this is
right?
like no.
Okay. So in your presentation slide, you must always use proposed data collection method. It's always proposed, right? Because it hasn't happened yet.
Yes,
right?
got it.
And the other point is, did you share anything about potential contribution to business and academic? Was there, because you were rushing, so I was not able to pick up that.
There's like how the business can take place, like because this is moreover in a interesting decision making support system for CFOs. So the CFOs itself is like a major term that comes into play, and that it is moreover so when CFOs can come up with a best decision making, then only the business and the cash flows of the industries and the financial sectors and financial planning that can come into play. So CFO is the major person who's been impacted by this research.
Okay. Did you present that, your potential contribution to academic and as well as business in your slide? Was there a slide on that?
I don't like as specifically like a potential contribution. I don't think there's a slide, so we can add that.
All right. I'm not sure about your writing. Okay, of course, none of us will be reading your paper except for your supervisor. So if you have written that portion, because what I want to point out is the terminology is very crucial especially in your proposal defense. Okay, so like what I mentioned just now, proposed data collection, because you haven't done data collection. And in terms of this contribution, how do you know that it's going to contribute? You haven't done your research yet. So always use potential, the terminology potential. Okay. So with that, I'd like to open the floor to whoever that is here left would like to share any advice, any comments for Pranjal. Anyone? Nobody wants to give any piece of advice or any question? Okay. So if that is the thing, so I wish you all the best, Pranjal. Discuss with your supervisor and see how you can improve your timing, and as well as whether you have written some of the points that I mentioned. Okay?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Wish you all the best. You can unshare your slide. Next person on the list is Sudwin.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi, Sudwin. Have you managed to settle your presentation slide?
I think so.
I hope
Is that
so.
working? Is working?
Okay. All right. Same thing, Sudwin. You are doing proposal defense for this symposium exactly 15 minutes. All right. And you can start anytime right now.
Okay. Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sudwin Panyawongkanti from Thailand. I'm present my DBA proposal. Title is From Audit Committee Competence to Governance Capacity and Organization Development Perspective on ESG Reporting Quality and ERM Integration in Thailand, in Thai listed firm. The core idea of this study is that audit committee attribute alone may not be sufficient enough. They must be converted into real governance capability that improve ESG reporting and ESG risk management. I will jump to chapter 1. ESG disclosure is becoming more connected with finance reporting, governance, risk management, and corporate accountability. Globally, IFRS S1 and S2 have increased expectation for structured sustainability disclosure. In Thailand, listed company already report through Form 56-1 report, while the market is also preparing for stronger ISSB-aligned expectation. The problem is that many audit committees may have formal governance attributes, but not yet a clear framework to transform those attributes into substantive ESG oversight. Previous studies often treat governance as static. The study opened the black box by examining how governance attributes become governance capacity. The study asked 3 questions. First, do 4 governance drivers influence governance capacity in Thai listed firms? Second, does governance capacity improve ESG reporting quality and ESG ERM integration? Third, does governance capacity mediate the relationship between the drivers and these outcomes? The objectives are aligned with this question to test the 4 drivers, assess the effect of governance capacity on the 2 outcomes, test mediation, and develop valid measurement scale for ESG governance construct. The research gap is that previous study explained relationship between audit committee characteristic and disclosure outcome, but they do not sufficiently explain the process in between. The originality of this study is the construct of governance capacity as the formative mediator. It captures how governance become actionable through oversight effectiveness, challenge discipline, cross-functional mobilization, disclosure, decision confidence, and governance maturity. The proposed pathway is that governance driver create governance capacity, and governance capacity improve ESG reporting and ESG ERM integration. In chapter 2, the four governance driver. The model has four governance driver. The first one is audit committee competent ACC, covering ESG expertise, independent meeting frequency, and the ability to challenge management. The second is the internal control effectiveness for ESG ICE, meaning control over non-financial data such as completeness, accuracy, and audit trails. The third one is the role clarity among committee RCC, which reduce gaps and duplication between committee, audit committee, risk committee, and sustainability committee. The fourth one is the anti-greenwashing mechanism, including the substantiation, claim substantiation, internal verification, whistleblowing, and consequence of misleading claims. The study integrates four theory. Agency theory support the role of audit committee and internal control in reducing information asymmetry. The institutional theory explains why firms respond to regulatory and market pressure. The stakeholder theory explains the need for accountability to investor and other users of ESG information. The last one is the legitimacy theory support the importance of anti-greenwashing mechanism because firms must demonstrate that sustainability claims are credible. Together, these theories support a governance capacity mode rather than capability mode rather than a simple compliance model. Hypotheses are grouped into three areas. Hypothesis 1 to 4 test whether the four governance drivers positively affect the governance capacity. Hypothesis 5 and 5 and 6 test whether the governance capacity improve ESG reporting quality and ESG ERM integration. The last group, hypothesis 7 to hypothesis 14, test the mediated effect, meaning whether each driver improves the two outcomes through governance capacity. So the emphasis is not only on direct effect, but also on the governance process that link driver to outcome. The conceptual framework, the conceptual models, the independent variable are the four governance driver, ACC, ICE, RCC, and AGM. The mediating variable is the governance capacity, designed as a formative first-order construct with 5 indicators. The dependent variables are ESG reporting quality and ESG ERM integration. ESG reporting quality focus on reliability, relevance, completeness, comparability, and assurance, while ESG ERM integration focus on risk appetite, scenario analysis, capital allocation, internal audit, and financial reporting linkage. The model also controls for firm size, industry, ownership concentration, foreign ownership, and listing status. This is the diagram shows that on the left are the 4 governance drivers. They feed into the central construct governance capacity. Governance capacity then leads to 2 outcomes: ESG reporting quality and ESG ERM integration. The bottom indicators explain how governance capacity is operationalized. The key message of this diagram is that strong ESG governance is not only about having structure, it is about whether those structures create the capability to oversee, challenge, coordinate, and make confidence decisions. Research, design, and sampling. This study follow a positivist paradigm using a non-experimental cross-sectional survey design. The unit of analysis is the firm, with 1 senior governance informant per firm. The target respondents are the audit committee chairs from the Thai listed firm. The population frame is approximately 868 listed companies as of end of March 2026. The sampling approach is 2-stage, stratified random sampling by market capitalization and industry classification. The target is 200 firm-level responses, which exceeds the minimum requirement from T-Power, the 10-time rule, and the inverse square root method. The instrument will be a secure web-based questionnaire using 7-point Likert scale. For data analysis, the study will use PLS-SEM with Smart PLS4 because the models include both reflective and formative construct, especially governance capacity. The measurement model will be assessed using Cronbach alpha, CR, and R sub A. For reflective construct, while for the formative construct, we'll examine redundancy analysis to ensure that its components are valid and not overly overlapping. Then we'll assess the structure model using part coefficients. And the mediation will be tested using 5,000 bias corrected bootstrap resamples. The study adheres validity, reliability, ethics, and feasibility. Construct validity will be strengthened through previous study and expert panels reviews. Reliability will be assessed using Cronbach alpha, composite reliability, row sub A. The study will use IRB review. The study is feasible because the target respondents are identifiable senior governance role in Thai listed company. Significant contribution. The theoretical contribution is that this study advanced a capability-based view of corporate governance. By positioning governance capacity as a first-order construct, it also integrates the 4 theory into one ESG governance models. Practically, the study provides an evidence-based roadmap for audit committee to strengthen ESG oversight, especially in the emerging market like Thailand. It may also provide self-assessment tools for the board and regulator. Methodologically, the study contributes new validated instrument for governance capacity and ESG-specific internal control effectiveness, and test all governance pathway in one integrated mediation model. The study has four key limitations. The first one is the cross-sectional design. Means the findings show relationship, not causality. Second is the single informant approach, may create perception and reporting bias. Third, time and budget constraint, means that the longitudinal study, interview, or case study are outside the current scope. The fourth one, the last one, is the ESG governance skills are newly developed, so future replication will be needed. The limitations are recognized and will be managed through careful design, validation, and transparent reporting. To conclude this presentation, the study addressed a clear ESG governance capability gap in Thai-listed firms. The model is ready because the construct, hypothesis, mediator, outcome, and control have been specified. The method is also aligned using a survey design, justified sample size, measurement validation, and PLS SEM analysis. The expected output is a validated model and practical assessment logic for audit committee and regulator. The next step requested is to proceed with instrument finalization, pilot testing, data collection, and analysis. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, so Sudwin, thank you for this.
Yep.
Any
Thank you.
question or any comments from anyone?
How long have I used? Sorry.
No, it's okay. You were on time. You were on time.
Thank you.
Any comments, any question, those who are in this session? Okay, Sudwin, would you just look into your contribution again? Just the wordings, like what I advised Pranjal earlier. Perhaps you want to put as potential. Okay. I don't know what you wrote in your paper, but because you haven't done your research yet. So these are all potential. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So yeah, okay. Others, all right. I am going to ask you to stop sharing your screen. I
Okay.
wish you all the best, Sudwin.
Thank you very much.
Try not to read on the screen, okay? This is your research. So this is not a presentation, this is a research. So practice, you have more time, practice a little bit, okay? All
Okay,
right.
thank you very much. Okay.
All right, all the best. Okay, next on the list is Manjula. Manjula, can you share your screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so same thing, Manjula will be doing proposal defense, which is for this symposium is 15 minutes. Please don't spend so much time in your chapter 1 and chapter 2. Check your timestamp, all right? And I wish you all the best, and you can start anytime you are ready.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Manjula Ferdinand. Today I will present my DBA proposal research title, Passenger Acceptance and Trust in Biometric Air Travels, a study of Emirates Airline. The study examined how passenger trust, influence of acceptance, biometric technology at Emirates Airline. Let me begin with the presentation overview. My presentation is divided into 3 parts. First, I will discuss the background, problem aims, objectives, and the research questions. Second, I will discuss the literature review, research gaps, theoretical foundation, and conceptual framework. Finally, I will explain the methodology, contribution, and limitations and conclusion. The aviation industry is changing very quickly, and one of the biggest changes is use the biometric technology. Today, many airlines, airports use a facial recognition and other biometric system to make the travel process faster and more convenient. Emirates is one of the leading airlines using technology by Dubai Terminal 3. Although these systems offered many benefits, some passengers may still have concern about privacy, data security, trust, like that. This made me interested to understand how passengers feel about the biometric technology and whether the trust influences their willingness to use it. That leads to the research problem that I will discuss next. Although the biometric technology is already being used at many airports, passenger acceptance cannot be assumed. The situation is known as the adoption acceptance paradox, whether the people use a technology but may not fully trust it and accept it. Biometric system offer many benefits, including faster processing, gather convenience, and improve security. However, some passengers may still have concern about privacy, data security, and use of the personal information. Another important factor is of the frontline staff. They assist the understand for the technology for the passengers, answering questions and build the confidence of the system. Therefore, the key challenges is not whether the technology works, but whether the passenger trust is enough to use confidently. To address this challenge, there's following research aim and objective were developed. To better understanding this issue, the study is clear research aim. The main aim is to examine how technology acceptance factors and AI specific influence passengers' willingness to use biometric processing at Emirates. To achieve this aim, to study has four objectives. First, to understand how factors such as perceived usefulness, easy to use, social influence, and availability support affect passenger trust in the biometric technology. Second, to examine whether the trust influences passenger intention to use biometric processing. And the third, to explore the experience, concerns, and the challenges faced by both passengers and frontline staff, whether using supporting this system. And finally, to develop the practical recommendation to help airline to improve passenger trust, transparency, and overall acceptance of the biometric technology. Based on these objectives, the research questions and the hypotheses were developed. The first question examined how the key UT2 factor influence AI-specific trust. The second look at the whether AI-specific trust influences passenger intention to use biometric processing. The third explores the experience, concerns, and the challenges reported by the passenger and the frontline staff. The fourth focused on the identifying recommendation that may help improve passenger trust acceptance in the biometric technologies. To test these relationships, 6 hypotheses were developed. The first 4 hypotheses proposed that the key of UT2 factor have a positive influence on AI-specific trust. The fifth hypothesis proposed that AI-specific trust positively influences for the behavioral intention. Finally, the sixth hypothesis proposed that AI-specific trust act as a mediator between the UT2 factor and the behavioral intention. Research, the behavior, then having the discuss of research questions and the hypotheses, I will now review the relevant literature and identify the research gap. Previous studies shown that the people are more likely to accept the technologies when they find them useful, easy to use, supported by the environment. In the aviation industry, much of this research has focused on the benefits biometric technologies, such as improving efficiency, enhancing security, and the speeding up the passenger processing. However, more recent studies suggest that the technical benefits alone are not enough. Research have found that factors such as trust, privacy, transparency, data protection play as important role in the shaping passenger attitudes toward the biometrics and the AI-enabled system. Overall, the literature suggests that the trust act as a bridge between technology itself, the passenger willingness to use. These findings highlight the need to stronger theoretical explanation, which leads of the theoretical foundation of my study. To better understanding the factors, influences, passengers, acceptance, this study is guided by the Unified Theory Acceptance and Use of Technology 2, or UTAUT2. UTAUT2 is a well-established model that helps explain why people choose to adopt and use new technologies. In this study, I focus on 4 keys of factors: performance expectancy, effort expectancy, social influence, and facilitating condition. These factors help explain whether the passengers see biometric technology as useful, easy to use, and the support by the environment. However, the biometric technologies are different from many other digital services, sensitively personal data, and AI-enabled decisions making. I extended by UTAUT2 model by introducing AI-specific trust as a central mediating variable. This is important because passengers may recognize the benefits of biometric technology. Unwillingness to use if they are not trusting the system. Therefore, trust become a key link between technology acceptance factors and the passenger willingness to use biometric processing. This slide presents the conceptual framework developed for the study. This framework is based on the assumptions the passenger acceptance of biometric technology influenced by several key factors. The 4 independent variables are performance, acceptancy, effort acceptancy, social influence, and the facilitating conditions. These factors are expected to influence AI-specific trust, which serves as a mediating variable in the model. AI-specific trust then influence behavioral intention, which refer to passenger willingness to use biometric processing during their travel journey. In simple terms, the framework suggests that the passengers are not more likely to accept biometric technology when they see the too useful and easy to use, supported by others, and the most important, trustworthy. This framework previously provides the foundation for examining how trust influences the passenger acceptance and biometric processing. Based on this framework, I will now explain the methodology used to test these relationships. Investigate this relationship. This study adapts the sequential exploratory mixed method approach. In a simple terms, research is conducted in 2 stages. The first stage is quantitative, whether survey that will be collected from 200 Emirates passengers who have experience with the biometric processing. The survey used validated measurements such scales based on the UTAUT2 and the AI-specific trust. The collected data will then be analyzed using SPSS and the Smart PLS to examine relationship between the variables. The second stage of qualitative and involves a semi-structured interview with the selected passengers and the frontline staff. The purpose of this interview is gain a deeper understanding the survey finding and explore the issues and the trust privacy concerns. Passenger confidence and the role of human support. By combining both qualitative and quantitative evidence, the study aims to provide a more comprehensive understanding of passenger acceptance of biometric tech. Following this research design, I will now discuss a study population and the sampling strategy. The targeted population is Emirates. Passengers is used in biometric system in Terminal 3. I will also interview frontline staff because they interact directly with the passengers and the help support of the biometric travel process. For the quantitative phrase, I will survey 200 passengers. For the qualitative phrase, I will conduct 20 interviews with selected passengers and the frontline staff. Data for this study will be collected using structural questionnaire based on the validated scales from the previous research. The survey will gather information about passenger prescriptions or biometric technology, their levels of trust, and their intention to use the system. The survey data will then analyze using the statistical techniques, test the proposed relationship in the research models. In addition, interview will be conducted with the selected passengers and the frontline staff to gain deeper insight in their experience and the views. Then the interviews will help explore the issues such as trust, privacy concerns, passenger confidence, and the role of human support during the biometric processing. By combining the survey finding with the interviews insight, the study aims to develop the more complete understanding of passenger acceptance of technology. To ensure the credibility and the right rigor of the study, several quality and validate process also be applied. To ensure the quality of this research, several steps be taken through the study. For quantitative phrase, validating measurement scales will be used, and the reliability and validity test will be considered by ensure the accuracy of these results. For the qualitative phrase, the interviews questions will be closely linked to the research questions, and clean about the consistent of approach will be used when the analyzing of interview data. An important part of this study is the integration of both qualitative and quantitative finding. By bringing together survey results and interviews inside the study, I will provide more complete understanding of passenger trust and acceptance of biometric technology. Ethical conditions are very important part of this research. Before their data collection take place, ethical approval will be from the university research committee. Participating in study will be the complete voluntary, and participants will be provided with the clear information about the research before giving their consent. Participants will also the right to withdraw from the study at any stage, any stage of time. That protects participants' confidentiality and the anonymity will be maintained throughout the research. All data will stored because this is handled according to university requirements and relevant data protections guideline. This is particularly important because of the study involved biometric technology, where the issues such as privacy, identity, and personal data the concern. Finally, I will discuss expect contributions and the limitation of this study. This study expects to make both academic and practical contributions. From the academic perspective, they extended UT-2 modern by introducing AI-specific trust as a key mediating factor in the biometric technology acceptance. It also contributes to the growing but still limited research on the passenger acceptance of the biometric technology. Within the aviation industry, practically in the Middle East context, from the practical perspective, the findings may help Emirates Airlines, other aviation stakeholders to better understanding passenger concern and the develop strategies to improve trust, transparency, and the overall passenger experience. The study may be also addressed to adoption acceptance paradox by showing how trust can influence passengers' willingness to use biometric technology. Like any research, this study has some limitation. It focuses especially on the Emirates passengers at Dubai International Terminal 3. So the finding may not fully applicable to the other airlines or airports. In addition, the study used a cross-sectional approach, meaning data will be collected at a single point in time. This brings to me the conclusion of my presentation. This slide is the key reference use of this study. In summary, this study explored how trust affected passenger acceptance of biometric technology in the air travel. I hope the findings help create a more trust travel experience. Thank you for your attention. I welcome any questions and the feedback from you all.
Thank you, Manjula. Thank you for your very interesting and very excellent presentation. All
Thank you.
right. I'm sure nobody have any question for Manjula. Nobody wants to ask any question.
May I?
Oh,
Yeah, okay. So my
yes,
question,
Do
Manjula,
you have
is
a question, Preeti? Do you have a question for Manjula?
yeah.
Okay, good. Please ask.
So my question to Manjula is, if biometric technology is already working, so why do we need this study?
Oh, thank you, Preeti. Although the biometric technology is already operational, passenger acceptance cannot be assumed. Many passengers may still have concern about the privacy, data security, and the trust. Exciting research has focused more on technology adaptations than the AI-specific trust in the biometric air travel. Therefore, this study aims to be understand how trust influences the passenger acceptance and the providing recommendation for improving the passenger experience. I think so, Preeta, it's briefly I was answered the questions. You will get some idea of that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, Preeti? Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else have any other question or any comments?
Yes. Can I have question?
Dr. Rana, yes, please.
Okay. Because I'm asking this question because I'm one of the fan of Dubai airports actually, and all the systems they have. My question, I noticed that twice you mentioned that passengers may have concerns. So when you want to build the research, we don't build it on may have concern, we build it on numbers. So my question that, do you have any data says that, let's say if we have 1 million passenger go in a specific year, the percentage of them using the biometric and the other percentage who prefer to not use. Do you have that data?
Thank you, Dr. Rana. This is proposal stage. Then I don't yet have primary data on the expected presentation of the passenger who accept the reject or biometric technology. However, the previous studies in industry report identified concern related privacy data security and all to measure this understanding of passenger acceptance and trust. But anyhow, I did it for a pilot test with the 20 passengers, and I have a basic idea what is the acceptance use. Then after that, from that analysis, I will explore from my final decisions for that, doctor.
So no, actually, my comment is related to the how I can say the gap your research trying to cover, or the things, the outcome of your research itself, or the building, what is the goal of your research or the benefit of your research, right? Because usually we're gonna to be trying to solve a problem, but if you have data says that let's say the target of UAE to have 100% of passengers using the biometric data, while until now they're able to target only, let's say, 60%. So I can say that, yes, they have concerns and we have to study it. But if the target is 100% and now what's happening is 100%, it means that I don't know what the research is trying to do. This is you get my point. This is the point, that you should have a problem, you should have a gap. I'm not saying that the problem means that 100% of them they don't want to use. I'm saying if the target is to have 100%, but currently we are able to reach only to 80% or 75%. So here we will understand that there is a gap we need to cover. But if we don't have that, I believe that on the question which is your research trying to answer, maybe it's not there itself. And I noticed when you were talking in your introduction or your problem statement, the reference you used is from 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Which means 4 years ago. I believe like a lot of changes happened in Dubai airport since then. So you may need to rethink that, and or what I can say, you might find numbers or documents or some government reports raising that concern, so you can build your research on it. Okay, so this is my feedback.
Oh, thank you very much, Doctor. I will consider for that when I will make it for my final presentation for all those things. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rana, for that extensive feedback. Anyone else have any question or any comments for Manjula? Okay, if no one has, I have a feedback. Okay, it's just for improvement. All right, well, I'm sure in your writing when you propose for the sampling because you're doing mixed method. So quantitative, I saw on your slide it was 200, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what formula you use for that?
SPSS and
How you got 200? Sorry?
It's anonymously I got for a 200. My target was 200. From there, I choose for a 20 with the pilot test.
No, but for quantitative, the number you just decided 200?
Yes.
So if, let's say, you just suddenly decided 200, then I'm going to ask you, why not 100? Why not 500? Why 200?
It's the more passengers, then I can make it for the more decisions. Then that's the reason I took it for that.
No, Manjula, if for research methodology, sampling, you must have, for quantitative, there is a tool for you to calculate. There's a various tools. It doesn't matter which tool, but it will give you a precise number, and you must mention that in your writing. And during the presentation, you can mention how you derive the 200, because that's what the first question I had. Okay. Now coming to your qualitative. So
Doctor,
where you got the 20?
May I interrupt you here?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, because I want to comment about the same comment which you use. Manjula, for putting your sample size, you should use a proper formula or proper resource. You cannot just put 200. And I want to give a feedback here. If you don't have a clear justification for your sample size, make sure you have it before your supervisor requests for proposal defense, because I'm not gonna to approve proposal defense if this one is not clarified. Okay? Okay, Manjula?
Yeah.
Please, because if you don't have answer why is 200, as Dr. J mentioned, not 100, not 150, not 565 or whatever it is. So it's a major concern. So make sure you discuss it with your supervisor and have a justification for that. I believe you're going to change the number because based on your population size, your 200, either if you want to use G power, so you need to put what the rest of the numbers or estimations you want to use, or if you want to use other references like I forgot the name of the resource, sorry. So it's going to ask you for more than 300. So it's not about how much you can get, is how much it must be, because your sample should represent your population. Otherwise, we cannot generalize the result. So please make sure to have that discussion with your supervisor, and that is sorted out before you request for your proposal defense. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Back to you, Dr. Jane.
Yeah, as I was sharing, like what Dr. Rana said, there must be a formula, and if it is not in your writing, then like what Dr. Rana said, you can discuss with your supervisor. And once you have done that, in your presentation, you don't have to go in details, but you can mention, okay, the sampling size was derived from what, and the sampling size is how much. Not just n equals to 200, just like that. Okay? That's for the quantitative. Now, for the qualitative sample size, okay, how did you get 20? Is it 20 because you did a pilot study?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it doesn't work that way, because if you go and read up how qualitative research methodology to apply, how many interviewers, how many people you want to go and interview, you can't just use that. Okay, what you could do is, based on Creswell's research design book, for qualitative, there is always a range. Okay? But for quantitative, there is a precise number, like what Dr. Rana advised just now. You do a calculation, it will give you a number. Whether it's 300, some odd number, it won't be like a round figure. Okay? It won't be like 300 or 200 or 150. It might be like 357. It's all based on your population. That is for quantitative. Now, for qualitative, it is a range. That means based on Creswell's research design, depending on what the study is about, because you want to get the data from the passenger, right? You want to get the experience from the passenger. So there must always be a range. So it's opposite. So let's say if you put n equals to 20, then it's questionable, because for qualitative, during research proposal, you cannot fix a number. What happens if you only manage to get 8 interviews when your proposal says 20? You don't know, right? Because you don't know the future. You haven't come to that stage, but you must always refer back to the research methodology guru, which is Mr. Creswell. All right. So it's a range. So you can put a range. So you can mention a pilot study was done, but that pilot study is just for you to see how your research is, which is excellent. Very good to have a pilot study at this research proposal. That's very, very good. Okay. But the sample size is also very, very crucial. All right. So if you can get that, then at least you know the range. So later, when you start to do data collection, if you do a range and you get only a certain number of participants or certain number of passengers that you are going to administer the interview, then there is some kind of clarification in that sense. You get my point, Manjula? This is a learning thing. We are not pinpointing that you made a mistake or what, because during the proposal defense, if you presented that slide just now, this is the question examiners is going to ask.
Yeah. Thank you,
Okay?
Doctor.
So you just discuss with supervisor and review back your paper. Maybe somewhere inside you did right, and then during this PowerPoint presentation, for some reason it was missed out. So it's okay.
Sorry, to be frank, Doctor, in my proposal, I already presented for that, but in the presentation, I'm not clear for
Okay,
that.
all right.
Yeah.
So if you had already written, very good. Just transfer those little information in when you are doing your presentation, your proposal defense presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, that will carry a lot of weight.
Yeah. Thank
All
you,
right.
Doctor. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So wish you all the best. You can unshare
Thank you.
your slide. Okay, let's have the last. We are saving the best for the last. Preeti Swawaraj. Can you please share your screen?
Yeah.
Go to your first. All right. Okay, so same thing, Preeti.
Yeah.
Proposal defense, and you have, for this symposium, you have exactly 15 minutes. You can start anytime you are ready.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. The topic of my presentation is the relationship between transformational leadership, employee engagement, and perceived organization performance in music schools in India. In India, the education sector is experiencing a high rate of change as it faces mounting competition, a shift in the expectations of the leaders, the learners, as well as highly qualified instructional delivery. In this context, special schools like schools of music have a special role to play in promoting creativity, artistic growth, and preservation of culture. Therefore, the study aims to explore the relationship of transformational leadership on employee engagement and perceived organizational performance in music schools in India. Now, coming to the background, leadership and employee engagements are key topics. Transformational leadership, which is inspirational, intellectual, engaging, and individualized in consideration, has been commonly identified as one of the associative leadership style that lead to positive employee attitude and behavior. Simultaneously, the employee engagement has become one of the determinants of organizational success. Involved workers will show increased energy, commitments, and engagement in their work, which will lead to better productivity and performance result. The music school workers must strike a balance between systematic instruction and creativity, and thus the leadership practice in music schools will become significant in shaping their motivation and performance. Now, coming to the problem statement, although the research on transformational leadership, employee engagement, and perceived organization performance continues to grow, a notable gap is existing. Empirical studies exist to investigate this relationship in a particular education setting, that is, music school. The extant literature has mostly concentrated on a business organization or the conventional learning institution, which restricts its applicability to the creative learning and skill-based learning setting. And the main problem lies in the fact that the process by which transformational leadership affect the performance of an organization are not yet well comprehended in a niche learning institution. Although existing studies indicate that the role of employee engagement can be a mediating variable, its result in different studies are inconsistent, and the strength on the relationship differs with the context. So, with such gaps, empirical research on the relationship of transformational leadership on perceived organization performance of music school in India is lacking, especially with the mediation of employee engagement. Now, coming to my research objective, I have four research objectives, which are as follow. The first one is to examine the effect of transformational leadership on employee engagement. Second is to assess effect of employee engagement on perceived organizational performance. The third is to test direct effect of transformational leadership on organizational performance and mediating role of employee engagement. Last but not the least, identify strongest leadership dimensions. These research objectives followed by again, 4 research questions. The first one is, what is the association of transformational leadership on employee engagement in music schools in India? Second, how does employee engagement relationship perceive organizational performance in music schools in India? Third, what is the direct association of transformational leadership on perceived organizational performance in music schools in India? And fourth, does employee engagement mediate the relationship between transformational leadership and perceived organizational performance? Now, coming to the literature review, I have separated them in 3 levels. First, talking about the transformational leadership. So, transformational leadership is considered to be one of the most productive leadership style of contemporary organizational and educational studies. It is a style of leadership where leaders inspire, motivate, and empower employee to greater level of performance by matching individual goals with organizational aim. And transformational leadership is not like transactional leadership. It is very different, as all the dimensions of transformational leadership helps to establish a favorable organizational climate that helps to involve employee and improve their performance. Now, coming to the employee engagement part, I would like to say that employee engagement is the basic term in organizational behavior that indicates the extent to which employees are emotionally, cognitively, and behaviorally committed to their work roles. And modern studies also say the concept of employee engagement is well known as the determinant of perceived organizational performance, which can affect productivity, job satisfaction, and overall performance. Again, coming to the perceived organizational performance, it is a concept that has been identified as a multidimensional concept encompassing financial and non-financial performances. And thus, this continues to not only about financial achievement, but also about other measures like the quality of teaching, satisfaction among the students, retention of students, and reputation of the school. These dimensions are especially significant in specific environments like schools of music, where achievement is directly connected to the standards of instruction and the progress of the artistic skill of the students. Consequently, it would be necessary to take a broader approach to assess perceived organizational performance in these institutions that would incorporate both tangible and intangible aspects. Now, talking about the research gaps of the study, among the most important gap in the literature is the absence of study in special educational institution, including music school, that can be listed. Most of the literature has been carried out within a corporate setting or in general education institution, including primary and secondary schools and universities. The other gap that has been identified critical is associated with the cultural concept of the research that has been conducted. Transformation leadership and employee engagement have been studied in much of the literature in Western context, which is not necessarily representative of the actual situation in developing nation like India. Again, the methodological gap is the dyadic relationship are often investigated in the context of empirical study, but an integrated model of mediation is not tested in a non-formal education. Again, my fourth point is a consolidated gap statement where, if put together, the literature failed to elaborate on the means by which transformational leadership will translate into perceived organizational performance within the Indian music schools, with the context of a contextuality sensitive type of employee engagement in the context of creative workplace. And this paper will try to fill such gaps by presenting and empirically validating a combined luxury of mediation that mediate between behavior of leaders and the result of creative participation and education related performance. Now, this is the conceptual framework following the literature review and the research gap that have been identified. A conceptual framework will explore the connection between transformational leadership, employee engagement, and perceived organizational performance in the context of music school in India. The theory is based on the known theories like the job demand resource (JDR) model, the social exchange theory, and the resource-based view (RBV) that are united in developing the concept of how leadership can affect the behavior of employee and organizational research. Also, I have developed few hypotheses on that is based on theoretical and empirical evidence, and the formulation of hypothesis will be on the basis of existing theoretical and empirical literature on employee engagement, transformational leadership, and perceived organizational performance. Now, coming to the research design. The current research design is quantitative, deductive, and cross-sectional research due to its foundation on the positivist research philosophy, since it aims at testing the hypothesized relation with the help of empirical data. And the positivist paradigm that the current study is based on presupposes that reality is objective and can be quantified by observable and quantifiable information. And particularly, it suits the study as the aim of the study is to test hypothesis of theoretical relationship between a set of distinctive variable. And the research methodology used is a survey research in which data would be collected as a standard data among employee in music schools in India. Surveys would be suitable in this kind of research as the data collection process is efficient, and therefore a reasonable sample size can be used to collect data, and statistical analysis of relationship between variable is possible. Now, coming to the population and sampling, non-probability sampling is a methodological sound approach in this study due to a number of reasons. First, the study focuses on a narrow and understudied group of respondent employees of music schools and needs a group of participants who have the experience of leadership practice. Purposive sampling will only include those who fit this requirement and thus improve the quality of relevance of the data. Second, music school and its employee are usually difficult to gain access to, and convenience sampling is a viable and associative way of collecting data. Non-probability sampling is generally acceptable in organizational study, especially those where the interest is in testing a theory but not estimating the population. And the main aim of the research is to investigate association among variables as opposed to generating statistical generalized population estimate. Thus, the sampling strategy is suitable to the aim of the research. Data collection and measures. The data collection will be conducted by sending the questionnaire to music school employee in India. The questionnaire can be distributed online and offline so that the maximum of people can respond. The survey can be administered online through channels like email, Google Forms, or within written questionnaire can be distributed when it's possible to use them personally. Also, a pilot study will be done before the actual data is collected, for example, say 20 to 30 people, to determine questionnaire reliability, clarity, and validity. The pilot study will be helped to clean up questionnaire and resolve any problem associated with the wordings or structure. Now, the data analysis plan. Since the research is quantitative, statistical analysis will be employed to come up with the reliable and objective results. The data will be screened against incompetence, accuracy, and consistency before analysis. Excessive missing value will be eliminated, and minor missing data will be taken care of by use of proper method like mean substitution. The information will be coded and typed to statistical software like SPSS, and The demographics of the respondents are going to be summarized with the help of a descriptive statistic and present the overview of the main variable. Mean, standard deviation, frequency, and percentage will be reported. This is to aid in the distribution of the central tendencies of the data. Now, coming to the ethics and the limitation, consider confidentiality and anonymity will also be guaranteed in the study. No personalized data, names, or contact information will be gathered. The name will be anonymous, and no individual respondents will be recognizable in any report or publication. This is especially so in the field of organization research, where participant might have the concern or giving their view about leadership. Again, the research adopts a rigorous research design, but a number of limitations need to be mentioned. Such limitations are divided into methodological, contextual, and measurement related to add clarity and focus. Overall, the study has certain limitations which can be associated with the cross-sectional design, non-probability sample, use of self-report measure, specifically in the context and use of modified measure. These restrictions have been recognized to bring about transparency and to inform interpretation of the finding. Lastly, I would like to say further study might investigate other variables, including organizational culture, job satisfaction, or other leadership styles to construct more elaborate model of employee and perceived organizational performances. So these are few references which I have used in my study. Thank you so much. I'm open to questions and the feedback.
Yes, thank you, Preeti, for presenting on time. Okay. Actually, yeah, exactly on time, 15 minutes. So anyone have any feedback, any comments?
Yes, Doctor. Preeti, while explaining the key concept you said, transformational leadership is different from the transactional leadership. Can you please make your point brief by explaining to me?
Okay, so through my presentation, one thing which I keep on mentioning is, of course, my important point, that is transformational leadership. So transformational leadership, as I said, is a relationship-oriented style of leadership. And here we motivate and inspire our employees to move in the right direction by creating a compelling vision for the future, helping them to see the purpose in their work and helping them to learn and grow. Whereas transactional leadership, as far as my knowledge, is a task-oriented style of leadership based on a system of reward and punishment. A transactional leader will always, clearly specify their expectations for performance and hold their employees accountable for meeting those expectations. Like good performance is recognized and rewarded, poor performance is reprimanded. While transactional leadership has been shown to be effective, the big downside to it is that it doesn't drive extra role behavior, that is going above and beyond the basic requirement of the role. Under this style, employee will do their job, but you are unlikely to get any extra effort from them in return.
Thank you, Preeti. I just clarify for that, for your answer. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for that question. Anyone else have any feedback, any comment? Okay, so if that is, no one have any feedback, any questions, so thank you very much, everyone, for staying till the end. And I wish all the learners the best in both your Viva and your proposal defense, and hope that this session you have taken this constructively to make improvement. It's only for improvement. The more you practice, you will become better. All right. So with that, I'm Dr. Jane Perianan, and I'm signing off from the 23rd GlobalNxt School of Business Postgraduate Research Symposium. We will meet you on the next symposium.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.